All right, we're recording now. Let me put my jingles down.
Wouldn't even be a legend. It's just a fact.
Urban facts.
Hey guys, when you were growing up, was there any type of urban legend or playground spook tale that was just like totally off limits for you?
Spook tales, woo!
You know, like in this movie, they say Candyman 5 times in the mirror. Boom, you get a Candyman. Like Bloody Mary, that kind of thing. Was there anything you're just like not having any part of this?
Listeners know, Mark just buried the lead. We're talking about Candyman today.
Oh,
You clicked on it, so
Yeah.
the lead was
Oh,
buried.
that's right. We have images, don't we? Never mind.
And titles. I mean, I remember Bloody Mary being a big thing, and I never did it. I don't know that I necessarily believed it, but I must have a little bit because I never did it.
Were you ever at like a sleepover and like your friends were peer pressuring you to go in there and turn the lights off and do it? Because I had that opportunity. I was like, fuck no, not doing it. Don't care. I don't believe in it, but don't care.
No, that never happened. I mean, like, I'm trying to think, but we would just play video games and shit, and then that'd be that, and then go to bed.
John, your sleepover's like, should we? Nah, let's just play some video games.
Like, do we want to court death or just keep playing GoldenEye?
Dude, let's order another pizza and play some more NBA Jam. I get it.
You know, so no, I can't say that I have done, but I still wouldn't do Bloody Mary. I don't know. I know it's dumb, but
Even as an adult
even as
today?
an adult, why test fate, right? Like, that just seems unnecessary.
Nice.
Right. Yeah, maybe some alien put the Bloody Mary spell into existence out there just to fuck with us humans. Who knows?
Who knows? You know?
Doesn't have to be religious.
Now, I have a question for your question.
Okay.
You said, you know, in this movie, you have to say Candyman
Welcome
5
back
times.
to point, counterpoint.
Yeah, you have to say Candyman 5 times, and Bloody Mary, you have to say it, you know, between 3 and 20. Everyone's got their own number.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, if you're, let's say you're saying Candyman, you're at, like, time 3, and he's like, he's getting up off his lazy boy, and then he changes his mind.
That's when he puts his coat on.
He gets really pissed. He's like, God, these fucking kids, they never finish.
I think he's done this long enough to where he waits for the 5th Candyman. He's not going to get up until he knows it's official.
Oh, that's what takes him so
He's
long.
not going to start making that pizza while you're basically like placing the order on the phone. He's going to wait till you've paid for it, and then he's going to start making it.
You know, I believe Canon supports that because he doesn't immediately show up. It takes him a few
moment,
minutes.
yeah.
He's got to get his shoes on. And
You have to say the candy 5 times to open up that paranormal door or wherever he's hanging out in.
yeah.
So, yeah, it's just like he might be able to look through a window and cry a tear when a kid doesn't get to the 5th one.
Just pissed.
Yeah.
I never did anything like that because I was definitely too afraid to do Bloody Mary or any of those in the mirror. But we did at, I wouldn't call them sleepovers, but hangouts, if you will, because sometimes we didn't really actually sleep over. We did like to turn off all the lights and see who could get the farthest to the other side of the wall in my grandmother's basement.
Oh, so there was an actual real threat of injury.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you'd get to the bottom of the stairs and you'd flip the light off. And if you could walk across the room, touch the wall, and get back up the stairs, you won, I guess.
What did you win?
Being alive.
it didn't have to make sense. That's just what it was.
You
Yeah.
run bragging rights. I mean, if you're 10, 11, 13, bragging rights are the key.
Speaking of bragging, when it was my turn, check this shit out. All the way down the stairs. Only maybe like 6 stairs. It's not like a long walk or anything.
It's not like an Evil Dead
No,
basement.
it was an Oklahoma basement, so it wasn't
Fruit
super
cellar.
deep. Okay, bottom of the stairs. Flip the lights off. Flip the lights right back on. Right back up the stairs. Didn't even come close to winning. I was out of that shit so quick.
Were your friends the type like they start making fun of you? Because that's kind of would come with the refusal to do the
course.
Bloody Mary shit. Is like, you big wuss, you pansy, that kind of stuff.
Mark, I don't have low self-esteem for no reason. Okay.
I was belittled because I had to turn the attic light on.
Oh look, it's not
basement.
just it's not a
Attic's upstairs.
podcast thing. I've always had the reputation of not being able to
okay.
do this scary shit.
Well, for another one for me was the Ouija board. And that was just because the religious ties to the Ouija board always told me that if you touch and deal with anything with that realm, you're inviting demons into your life.
Man, I tried
So
to get a
just
Ouija
Do
board.
they
to
pay
work.
rent? That's what I want to know.
No,
So you've
they're
never touched
freeloaders.
one? Or have
No.
you?
I don't even know if I've seen one in real life, to be honest with you.
Someone's going to edit that out of context, and we are really in trouble.
I've never
well,
even touched one.
they're like any board game. It's mostly cardboard and plastic and disappointment. So
With a Parker Brothers logo?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Milton
just
Bradley, you know.
when you're raised religious, some of that stuff just doesn't make sense to somebody who wasn't, right?
It hits different, man.
Yeah.
It hits different.
I get it.
But speaking of which, let's talk about a dope-ass flick we just saw.
what did we see? Jaws 4, The Revenge?
Oh, man.
No, just 3D. Get it together,
I
dude.
wish.
Uh,
We're going to talk about the new 2021. Wait, yeah, it's still 2021. God, time and space are a mystery at this point. 2021, Nia DaCosta, Candyman.
Candy Ombre.
I believe that is the official translation. Yeah, fucking nailed it, dude.
Got it.
Oh yeah, you go. This is your point.
You want to do it?
No.
I'll pull up the IMDb shit real quick.
Yeah, I don't have any of that stuff
I'll
prepared.
get it all together.
Hey, all you creatures from cyberspace. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the GraveTalk podcast. My name is Mark. Again, joined with Garrett and John. Fellas, we're doing another Sunday recording. We're fresh back from the Cinemark.
Mm-hmm.
We just saw Candyman.
We did.
Before we get into that, what have you been up to?
Private screening of Candyman.
Yes, true.
Because we ain't risking we're in Texas. We can't risk shit right now.
Yeah, we paid a little extra to keep the Delta out.
That's fact.
What have y'all been up to since the last time?
Oh, you know what? I watched The Crazies, the remake from sometime in the 2000s.
Yeah.
That's a good movie. I mean, I've seen it before, but I rewatched it earlier today, and I forgot. It's enjoyable.
Now, refresh me on a loose premise on this.
Biological weapon turns everyone into effectively zombies, but not really because they're still alive, but they're very violent.
Was this the ending scene? Was this at like a truck stop?
Yes.
Okay, that's the one I'm thinking
Yeah,
of.
yeah.
I remember I'm driving away in the darkness at night
And
or
there's
something.
a big explosion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I remember thinking that one was all right. I can't say that I've ever seen the original.
Me either. But I've heard folks say that this is one of those remakes that are better than the original. So
When somebody tells you that, does that discourage you from checking it out for yourself, the original?
no, I mean, I wouldn't say it discourages me, but it does make me think like, all right, I'll get to it eventually. Like when people are like, oh no, the original is way better. I guess it incentivizes me to go see it quickly, but I don't necessarily when people are saying, oh, the original is not as good. I don't know that I'm like, oh, never mind. I don't need to watch it myself then. I just won't rush out to watch it.
Sure. It doesn't make top number one on your list of next things to view. I get it. Cool. So Crazies is a recommend? The
Yeah,
remake
definitely.
from probably like 2006 or 7?
Yeah, it was around there.
Yeah. What you been up to, Garrett?
Waiting to see Candyman.
Oh, true. You've said it so many times.
Yeah.
I have probably said it a bunch on the podcast. I apologize, listeners. I get excited about my films. I've been really just kind of waiting for this. It's been a while. I apologize for the delay, but work is work, and there's been a lot of stuff going on. But starting to burn through that Resident Evil 8, so we're gonna have video of that soon. So thank you for your patience on that. We apologize for the delay, but unless you guys want to start paying my bills, I got shit I got to do. So.
GraveTalk Ltd. exists of only 3 people, so we do the best that we can.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a non-profit
Yeah, exactly.
in every sense of the word.
Yeah, is there such thing as a negative profit?
That's where we're sitting, but someday maybe we'll change that. I've also been playing something. I started run through of the 2001 or 2 Xbox exclusive John Carpenter's The Thing. I have not played it since it came out, and I'm having a good time with it. So I think I'm going to do something with that. I'm going to put some footage together for us to view and just kind of talk about it because I don't hear anybody ever bring it up.
I didn't even know
I feel like it's a forgotten game.
Yeah, I didn't know it existed. No, I'm not a video game expert by literally any definition, but, very quiet on that game.
Yeah.
Does it suck?
No, actually, it's all right.
Okay.
It is very clunky.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, no, I expected it to be bad, but
Yeah.
this was the time period where controls were still kind of like everywhere. People are still figuring out 3D traversal.
Oh, I hated that every game had a different,
Yes.
we
We haven't
very annoying.
standardized the control scheme yet. So you put it in, you're like, what? Why am I strafing left and right with the right pad? No, I want to turn around and look at stuff. Anyway, I'll get into more than that. So I will do something with that and get that together. But no, that game's fun. But other than that, that's it. Yeah. I saw Nobody.
Wait, nobody. Oh, the Bob Odenkirk movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bought that. I haven't watched it yet.
It's pretty good. It's I had a friend.
Is it a Liam Neeson's film? Give me back my son.
Not quite.
Is it a John Wick wannabe?
It's kind of like if the USA Network made a John Wick.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't sound like something I want to watch.
It's decent though.
Okay.
It's not nearly as good as John Wick, I don't think, but it's still pretty cool to see Odenkirk play like this action badass guy.
Dude, he's so rad. Like,
Hey.
I'm down to see him like do something a little bit more like action packed than Saul from Better Call Saul,
He
or
is cool.
Breaking Bad, if you will.
Yeah, I've been watching him since Mr. Show in the 90s. So
Flex.
see him go from a comedy skit show to sleazy lawyer now to this action hero has been a pretty good journey for Mr. Odenkirk. I'm glad he's okay, though. I don't know if you heard he had like a mild
Yeah,
heart
yeah,
attack.
mild heart attack.
I was
yeah.
going to be very sad if that went the other way, but no, he's okay. So good deal. But anyway, let's get into today's movie. We saw 2021 Candyman. It was directed by Nia DaCosta.
Nia DaCosta. It was written by Jordan Peele, Wynn Rosendale, Nia DaCosta, Clyde Barker. I don't know why Clyde Barker. Oh, characters. He
Yeah,
got
I did the
credit for
original
characters.
short, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
the
Wynn Rosendale, Nia DaCosta, Jordan Peele wrote the script, directed by Nia DaCosta, starring. I'm going to do this part for you, Mark, because I got the IMDb up, if that's all right.
That's fair.
Do I have your permission?
Yeah, granted.
Okay, thank you. Oh, God, some of these names. I
Good
should
luck.
give that to Mark. It's starring Yahya Abdul Mateen II. God, I apologize if I butchered your name. You were fucking fantastic in this film. Trayana Paris,
you missed-
Nathan Stewart Jarrett.
You're missing an important part. Who do they play?
Oh, God, yeah. I forgot this
You want
part.
to start over?
No, we'll keep going.
Okay.
Yahya Abdul Mateen II played Anthony McCoy. Tayana Paris played Brianna Cartwright. Nathan Stewart Jarrett played Troy Cartwright. Coleman Domingo played William Burke. And then we had a couple other people, some side characters, Kyle Kaminsky, Vanessa Williams, Brian King, and a slew of others. But there was also a, what do they call it? Appearance? A cameo by our man, Tony Todd. Keeping the roots true. He is definitely in this film. So that's the general breakdown. As Mark said, 2021. Runtime, John, an hour and 31 minutes.
Oh, it was perfect. Perfect runtime.
All right, so let's jump into it.
Well, currently, as of the time of this recording,
If you're going to say the Rotten Tomatoes score and it's low, please don't ruin my day. This movie was so fucking dope.
85% with the critics
Okay,
out of
all
227 reviews and a 73% with the audience out of 1,000 plus.
right. Really? The audience is lower. I would have thought critics would have hated this more because...
No way. This is critic bait. I totally.
This feels like a critic
Yeah.
darling, to be honest
Really,
with
they
you.
don't like horror, though.
Yeah, but this has so many things to say.
This
It's
is
got
the,
a lot of messaging. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
this is the kind of horror they do like. This is a very A24-esque film.
Yeah, I think it's going to sit really well overall. I think I can agree with that. Again, this isn't my opinion, but I can see the audience coming to it a little bit lower than the critics.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, though? Because, I mean, the first Candyman, fantastic. Second Candyman, let's be honest, not so great. This is definitely a 2018 Halloween situation where they kind of build off the first film and kind of don't really super acknowledge the second and the sequels and stuff like that, but they're also not completely negating them. So,
Well, let me just put this disclaimer out here right now. I know this is a movie of African American ideas and opinions, and I'm a white man, and I'm not here to make any judgments or try to decipher it and put my own white spin on anything. So,
but you do have black friends. Is that where you're going with next, Mark?
how did you know?
No, I mean, there's definitely some subject matter that we definitely are not experts on, but we're going to just give our opinions and takes on the movie itself. So.
Absolutely. So I just want to throw that out there. We're not here to, if you don't agree with anything we say, we might not have picked up on something. And we're always happy to hear from you guys. If you think, no, you guys missed a key thing, write in and talk to us about it. Maybe we'll throw it up on the episode. I also have a bad memory, so I'm already starting to forget things.
We just saw it, dude.
I know. But and my wife, what's her name? I can't remember her name. She just had a birthday, and I can't even remember that.
Jessica,
Oh, thank you very much.
I remembered this time.
Yeah. So just saying there, we love to have people come in and give their opinions too. So if you have anything to say about it, let us know. But yeah, I think, Garrett, there may be an issue with the audience members might not pick up on certain of the messages.
Oh,
So-
I don't know. They couldn't beat you over the head more with the messages.
John's got a point. There was some really, and honestly, I'm glad they did that though, because I'd hate to see some of this messaging get lost on the audience. But maybe that definitely kind of threw people for a loop.
They
Well,
like
then let me-
circled it, hit the board. This is the message.
Then maybe that could be what's
I think
driving
that's
the
what it
score
is.
a little bit lower. Maybe it's too heavy-handed for some people.
Yeah, I think that's probably part of what's going on. And I don't know. I think it might have leaned a little too heavy. Like, I wish they handled, but I can see both ways, right? If it's too subtle, then people don't get it. But like, man, this really was really like on the nose. Like, your audience is a bunch of morons, so we're gonna have to really spell it out for you exactly what we mean. So I wasn't the biggest fan of that.
But it wasn't as spelled out as, like, say, the end of Hereditary. You are Payman. We are sacrificing you for money.
They put a hello, my name is Payman tag on them.
But I see what you're saying. Yeah, it was kind of a bit.
Can you hear my Coke over there, dude? Sorry. I got the frogs coming in.
That's why I have my waters and coffees on my right.
Just raw dogging it.
John, do you want me to spit some of this in your
No.
Oh boy,
whoa.
please.
Hydrate you up, bro.
But yeah, so here's there's no back of the box yet. Obviously, it's brand new, out this weekend. Here's what Rotten Tomatoes has on the movie info.
We should start doing like the side of the toilet stall when we do the movies in the theaters. Like, this is what was written in the toilet stall at the movie theater.
I'm gonna ask the guy who takes the tickets up front. Can you give me a quick synopsis to read?
Give me a rundown of what I'm about to see.
You joke, but I'll tell you what, when I used to work in the movie theater, every once in a while you have to do box, which is the front where you sell the tickets. And at least back in the early 2000s, people would come up and just look at the board and be like, "Can you tell me about this movie?" Like, no, I've never seen it. I work here. I don't know. I can't. All I do is sell tickets.
It's
I don't
called
know.
Ernest Rides Again. What has happened in this movie? He rides again, sir.
When did he
Duh.
ride before? Like, do you know all the plot details? I'm like, I don't know. I can't help you. And then they started giving us a little sheet that had like basically what was in the movie
that's kinda
theater,
cool.
or sorry, in the newspaper. For our children listeners, back in the day, the newspaper used to tell you about movies and when you can see them.
Previews.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
What's up with this gladiator? It's a story of a man trying to get his puppet show off the ground.
No, it is not related to the television show with all the athletes.
That's American Gladiator, sir.
All right, well, here's what Rotten Tomatoes says about the new Candyman. For as long as residents can remember, the housing projects of Chicago's Cabrini Green neighborhood were terrorized by a word-of-mouth ghost story about a supernatural killer with a hook for a hand. Easily summoned by those daring to repeat his name 5 times into a mirror, in present day, a decade after the last of the Cabrini towers were torn down, visual artist Anthony McCoy and his partner, gallery director Brianna Cartwright, I'm skipping over parentheses here with names and things they've done, move into a luxury loft condo in Cabrini, now gentrified beyond recognition and inhabited by an upward mobile millennials. Let me read that one more time. Now gentrified beyond recognition and inhabited by upwardly mobile millennials, with Anthony's painting career on the brink of stalling, a chance encounter with a Cabrini Green old-timer. I'm tired of saying Cabrini Green. It's easy to trip over. A chance encounter with a Cabrini Green old-timer exposes Anthony to the tragically horrific nature of the true story behind Candyman. Anxious to maintain his status in the Chicago art world, Anthony begins to explore these macabre details in his studio as fresh grist for paintings, unknowingly opening the door to a complex past that unravels his own sanity and unleashes a terrifying wave of violence that puts him on a collision course with destiny.
Holy shit! Was this the back of the video record?
Yeah, the video disc.
Yeah.
I'm honestly though, that was really good. That definitely sets up what you're about to get to without spoiling too much. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it's just a little wordy.
Yeah.
And a little bit back of the boxy towards the end with...
Well, much like the art world, they had to pomp and circumstance
Yeah.
that shit up for no reason.
Definitely. Well, guys, what do we think of Candyman 2021?
I recommend it fully. I really, really enjoyed this movie. The cinematography alone, I could talk about that for a whole damn episode. The story had moments where I was kind of like, okay, but again, I've accepted worse through other horror movies we've done. So I really don't have a lot negative to say about this movie. I would say the only thing that I have with this, I hope they don't make a sequel. I think this movie's good enough to kind of touch on the original to stand on its own. kind of this like nice bookend to this whole legend of Candyman. I would be okay if they just ended here.
That's fair. I also thought it was by the way, listeners, as always, we're going to get into deep spoilers here, so please go watch it beforehand if you're really interested and want to go in fresh without any beforehand knowledge.
Spoilers, if you will.
Yeah. Webster defines spoilers as... No, just putting that out there. But yes, I would also recommend it. I thought it was really good. I thought it was one of the smartest sequels I've seen in a while. I don't know if you guys looked into it too much. I didn't. So I didn't know going in, was this a remake? Was this a soft reboot? What was this? But this was a traditional down-to-earth sequel. And going in and watching it kind of slowly tie itself back into the first film, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's that kid from the fire. Okay, that's that lady in the horrific scene from the first one when Helen steals the bait. You know, as this was playing out, I was like, okay, I got it. I don't know how many times I've watched the sequel. I was like, nope, not buying it. Too corny. Get out of here with that shit. You know, but this one I think did a fantastic job with actually continuing the story.
Not just continuing the story, but building off of it and acknowledging the lore that the first one put in place. And to a degree, kind of the second one. It definitely kind of washes away the second movie's plot line a little bit, but
They use his first name. That comes from the second one.
What's up?
His first name, Daniel, that comes from the second one. That's about
Daniel Robenthal?
Robitussin, I believe.
Roboshaw or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
His friends just called him Tussin.
That was going to be one of my questions, actually, is this like a Halloween situation where it washes away all the sequels?
Seems that way. Now, I didn't think that I would be the one with the lowest opinion, but I believe I am. One, I agree with Garrett. It is the most gorgeous movie I've seen in a long time. The cinematography was amazing. There's so many. I was like, okay, I want that as a poster, and I want that as a poster. Just so many beautiful, beautiful shots, and just the way they use the camera.
For a movie that uses so much art as a pivotal like story point, to see like every shot, like almost like you said, like to be able to stand on its own as an image that is just moving was very nice to see. I'm glad that they didn't kind of.
Yeah.
I always have a problem when they do artists and the movies are filmed like really fucking shitty. I'm like, you can't talk about art and then do like, look, here's a medium shot of a guy talking. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah, they definitely avoided that. It was gorgeous. But I don't know. For parts of it, I felt very bored. I was like, and maybe like I don't know. I just I thought it was fine. I do recommend it. But like I feel like Garrett's like a 10, maybe Mark's like an 8. I'm like at like a 6 out of 10.
Okay, you're lined up with like kind of the audience score on this one. Okay, well, as an audience member, that lines up.
Me, average audience member John.
I always fall on the critic side of things because I think of a lot about myself. No, just kidding. Okay, well, let's talk about some of the reasons that you thought it was boring or some of the negative points.
Yeah, I actually do want to get into that because, like, I don't hear animosity about the boringness to you. I hear moments that you kind of maybe wanted more. Is that kind of what you're thinking, or is it the story kind of let you down at parts?
I think, and I'm trying to think how to phrase this, and it might be just because I'll say like as a minority, I like to think I'm very plugged into like all the Black Lives Matter stuff and social justice. So like hearing it just regurgitated throughout this whole movie, though, kind of, I was like, all right, yeah, I know it all sucks. So maybe that was it. Like it was just maybe I wasn't the audience for some of the scenes in the movie.
That's a really good point, though, because the thing is, though, is we're fairly woke on this podcast. I mean, we're not like completely ignorant about stuff, but
we are ignorant though,
big time, but not about stuff.
But John, you're definitely more tapped into this. You have more personal experience with this kind of thing than others. I do understand kind of to what you were saying too, Mark, where the messaging is really hammered home. I honestly wonder if that's almost needed in a way, though, because let's not forget why we may not find it earth-shattering or like really like kind of like this is important messaging to a fair bit of the audience who may go see this film. This may be new concepts. This may be shit that they haven't had like pummeled into their head of like how fucked up history has been to
Yeah.
ethnicities of stuff like that.
I think the trick is getting this movie in front of the people that needs the message.
Right. I think it's so heavy-handed that word's going to get out that folks are going to be who need to see this. You're gonna be like, oh, I don't need to be lectured at. And sometimes it felt like the movie was talking at me, and like also it felt like every time a group of minority characters got together, they were just talking about like gentrification and racism, and like no one had like a regular conversation in this movie. And it's like, that's not what I don't call like my Puerto Rican cousins and we're like, oh, let me talk about police brutality, bro.
John, if you're calling to talk to me about the whites again, I don't want to hear it.
Like it would have been nice to see these people be people a little bit more. Like they had that scene in the beginning when they talked about wine and stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. But other than that, a lot of times they just came across as mouthpieces for something the script wanted us to know about.
No, that's fair. That's fair, because now that I think back on it, I mean, I didn't feel that way. But again, when the subject came up, I was like, I see why they're talking about this. I see why they're pushing this for the narrative. But to your point, yeah, the ratio of just normal day to day versus like messaging conversation was definitely skewed a little bit. But I wonder if that's just because they had to kind of really make their point in an hour and 30 minutes as opposed to a lifetime of dealing with whatever and talking to people.
That's fair.
But you make a good point. I mean, in retrospect, there's definitely a lot of conversation that hinges on specific issues that I wouldn't know, but maybe are not talked about quite that much within those communities.
And like I think about like the main characters, right? Like Anthony, we don't know anything about him. What does he like? What does he dislike?
God,
What's his personality?
His character, though, I thought he was so. Really, you didn't know his character?
I mean, yeah, I know that he's an artist and that he makes, very social art. All that's cool. That's it. I couldn't tell you like 5 things about him. He becomes Candyman, spoiler, but like, he has very low care about major wounds on his body.
We definitely will talk about the wound care.
Big problem with that.
Yeah.
Big problem.
See, I got more out of his character. I got him as a person who was very insecure about what he does, knowing that, with the art community being what it is in certain places, art community can be awesome. I do art and it can be really accepting, and I love the interaction I have with people, but there can also be some pretentious bullshit that goes on in that. And I think he was dealing with that in a way that kind of made him feel like, I'm losing it, I'm falling out of it. And I got this like real sense of insecurity and vulnerability from him. So when he saw an opportunity or where he connected to something that kind of like filled that void, that sense of, like, what am I doing? Am I just repeating what I'm doing? Like, is there actual passion behind my projects? I saw him grab onto that in this sense of like validation to what he did.
I saw less of art community and more of our art gallery and business side of it. Yeah. Like we keep seeing those directors come in. It's like, I heard you have an interesting story. This will play great in my New York gallery. You know what I mean? She cares nothing about her at all. She's only interested in
using
what
the
she
people
can sell.
as set pieces as opposed to like people doing what they're doing. And I think that's also plays into some of these. I mean, especially what was her character's name? Damn it, hold on.
Girlfriend?
Guys. Yeah, got it right here.
Boop, boop, boop. Vicky?
Brianna. When they call her in for that, like, I guess you kind of call it an interview, kind of meet cute thing. And that gallery owner is just like talking about her experience and the things she's going through as being the attraction and not what she does.
Not her talent.
I see that happen with so many people, and I don't know. That hit me really hard.
Yeah, you're right, Garrett. I don't know how many artists are like, this is their backstory. And then you're like, isn't this amazing? And then you look at the art and you're like, meh. The story is so much more interesting than the art.
My favorite part of this whole movie was when she was in that interview, and there was just a ladder on the ground at one point in the art gallery with little wires across it, letting me know that was some sort of art installation. But it was just like a construction ladder laid down, and I really wanted to know what that was supposed to represent.
Let's not tangent into the art world, because I could talk for hours. I could start up my own fucking podcast about it. It's so symbiotic. It's more than just the art itself. It is the artist. It is the experience. But at the same time, there's so much bullshit wrapped into that. Where it's like, oh, it's a soup can, but it's symbolized. No, it's a fucking soup can, dude.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Like, sometimes things can just be a thing and it can affect you, and that's okay. You don't have to have this, well, I spent 4 months and the blues were picked from flowers in Guatemala. It's like, no, bro. No. You just want to put some blue right there.
Yeah, a lot of my experience with the art world is because I went to an institution and got a degree at a college.
Mark was in an institution.
Yeah. Institution. All I wanted was a Pepsi. But no, man, it was like, it's just a lot of people that like to sniff their own farts and think they're better than everybody else because they got a keen eye on a lot of shit. And it's like, oh God, I hate this. This isn't why I'm here to make art. I don't buy into a lot of that.
Which is why I look down on you guys when we talk about movies all the time. So
you're cultured.
You know what would have been a cool out of all the conversations they put in this movie, what would have been a really cool one, and also something I think would have resonated with like the audience really well is maybe, I think you're right, Gary. I think Anthony was really insecure, and maybe like the conversation he could have had with his significant other that also would have helped build a bond there. Because I'll tell you what, I did not sense a lot of chemistry.
that's one of my negative points.
Is him being like, look, you know, I was this artist. I came from the projects, and now I'm living this comfortable middle class life, and I don't know how to transition. I feel like I'm disconnected from my roots. Like a conversation like that. One, I think that's an experience a lot of minorities go through if they, you know, start getting money and stuff, and they've come from an impoverished background. I think that is a transition. That's a challenging transition. And two, that would have helped me connect and be like, okay, I understand why 2 years ago this guy was like hot shit, and now he can't come up with anything that sells. He's like trying to sell the same painting over and over again. Like they just sort of glossed over that. I think that would have been a really interesting character point and some depth to his character.
I thought we kind of got a little bit of that expanded on when, you know, the first murder happens. Let's get to the part of the first murder real quick because I think that'll catch us up till we can start talking about some of these deeper points.
Well, let me just say real quick, just before we do that,
Yeah.
is that I think while John is correct that we're missing a little bit of the background information on these characters, I liked all the characters.
Yeah.
I did connect with them even though I didn't know as much about it. I think there was a story point for why they didn't reveal too much about Anthony and his connection to movie one.
Yeah, but the point could have still been made if it was Brownwood or Cabrini Greens.
Yeah,
like that.
they could have kept all that out of it and still given us more about the characters' like current mindset about where they are in life at this time.
Sure.
They don't expand on that a whole lot. I didn't find it to be so much of a negative, but I definitely see your point, John. There was a lot left on the table that, you know, was not presented to us. And considering how much they present other topics in the movie, that probably would have been nice to have a little bit more. The relationship thing between these two characters there's an end scene where like there's a really deep like response to something happening, and I'm like, oh, why do you care?
Yeah, okay, you couldn't have cared about him that much. You didn't know for like a fucking week his hand was becoming a decrepit claw, like, and you didn't think to bring that up to your significant other.
Yeah,
so
you're definitely right on that point. But but like so many movies we've watched, like. How many times have we said, I don't care about any of these characters. I don't give a shit. Like, I was not at that point at all.
Yeah, neither was I.
You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah, I did like them, and they all act in very believable ways for the most part.
Minus not checking on your wound.
Yeah, that's like the biggest plot hole gap thing that's going to bother me about this movie for all time.
Look, as someone who did art without health insurance, you let a lot of shit go and you hope for the best.
Also, if you have, I think it's called like trypophobia or whatever, tryptophobia. where
Tryptophobia.
You're afraid of holes. Holy shit! What happens to this
Holy
poor
shit,
man, dude?
get it?
Ooh.
No.
Holy.
Oops. But yeah, sorry, that was me. I hit the table. But yeah, I totally agree. I did really buy into the characters as like individuals.
All
But
right.
there could have been more to endear us to them earlier in the story, I believe. Yeah, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
True.
Okay.
All right, Garrett, how's this one get kicked off?
So this one starts out with, you know, a credit scene. No, I'm just kidding. This one,
It
we
actually
starts
is
out-
the credit scene is an interesting reverse, right? Because the original
okay, yeah, I do want
Candyman.
to talk about this because the Universal symbol comes up in a mirrored image, and then the other Monkey's Paw Studios comes up in a reverse image. And I heard you guys behind me. Mark said,
Yeah.
What was it? You talking to
Oh,
somebody?
yeah.
saying,
we both thought, I was like, this is fucked up. This is broken.
We
you
thought
guys thought the projector was backward.
Yeah.
Yes, we did. We're like, oh, like if it was just one logo, I'd be like, okay, clever. But it was like, they fucked
Too
it
much,
up.
yeah.
We paid too much money for this theater for them to fuck this movie
All
up.
three intro logos, studio logos, are in reverse image, like mirror image. And like I heard you guys say that, and I turned around, I was like, guys, it's a mirror image, and it's like, okay.
Yeah, like a lot of times the main company's logo gets fucked with, but normally the secondary companies are
Yes.
fine. So that's what was confusing.
I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie though. I did also think momentarily, I was like, did they put the reel on in reverse somehow? I was like, how does that happen? I was like, no. A mirror, dude. And I thought that was a cool little subtle thing. Like straight out the gate, they already care about this.
But it opened, that does continue, because the original Candyman opens looking down on Chicago as you fly over it. This one opens looking up at all the buildings
before
as
we
you
get
drive
that,
through it or whatever.
Before we get that, we get a scene back in the day.
That's
we get a
right.
scene of a little kid who's in the projects, the Cabrini Green projects, the flat rows. I don't know what those are called exactly, but it's like the flat projects. It's not the towers. But he's walking with some laundry down to the towers to do laundry, and there's some cop cars strategically placed. They're looking for someone who kind of looks like our Candyman. And then this kid goes down into the, I don't call it a basement, but the laundry room area, which is down some step. Yeah. Puts the laundry in, sees a hole in the wall. Immediately, if you're familiar with any Candyman movie, you know what this hole is. It's no good.
That kid was already in trouble because he put his laundry in the machine and then left. I was like, my mom will whoop my ass if I went to the laundromat and left my clothes in there.
Maybe there's some unspoken like trust that people have, like, don't fuck with each other's clothes because we can't afford to fuck with it.
You'd like to hope so.
You would, yeah.
There's
I know.
not.
I've
No,
had enough
people
laundry
steal
stolen in my
shit.
day to know that that's not the case. So yeah, he starts to leave, and then a piece of candy falls out of the hole in the wall. And then, the Candyman at that time, who is not called the Candyman, I guess.
It's like Sherman?
Sherman.
Yeah.
Talk about an unthreatening name, man.
I was like, I hope they don't fucking, like, I hope this is not a fun little gag and call him Helmsley. If it's Sherman Helmsley, I'm going to lose my shit. A piece of candy comes out. And this actually plays in. At first, I was like, wait, that's not Tony Todd. Like, what is going on here? Like, that's not the Candyman. But the kid screams. The cops hear it. They run downstairs. You find out later that they actually beat this dude to death downstairs in the laundry room. The white cops beat this guy to death because they've been looking for him because they think he's responsible for putting razor blades in candy for the kids. So this kid sees it all, and bam, we smash cut to the actual title credits. And John, as you said, the first Candyman does fly over Chicago with an aerial shot. This one it's not reverse image. What is it? How would you describe this?
I mean, it's upside down. You're looking up this time instead of
fog, like foggy clouds, like over the top of this. Man, it is so beautifully creepy.
It's disorienting because you're not used to seeing skyscrapers this way, but you're essentially on your back looking at them go up, and they must have filmed it. It's either CG or they filmed it on a day where there's a low cloud cover, so all the skyscrapers are disappearing into the clouds.
Yeah, it looks like you're above the bottom of the skyscraper, above the clouds. It's so weirdly disorienting. I loved it. The moment that happened, I was like, for this alone, I'm in. But we get that credit scene, and then we cut to our main characters,
Art and
Brianna. Yeah, Brianna. Art or Tony? Anthony.
Art.
Brianna. I don't know if Art's
Arthony.
They really wanted him to be an artist when he grew up. So
yeah. And then what? No. We actually get her brother. Her brother's showing up with his boyfriend. They're going to have dinner
his
at
boyfriend
their place.
is from Dave, where he is awesome in that show. If you don't watch Dave, by the way, you totally should.
Oh, the one with Lil Dicky?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great show.
Yeah.
He's also in the British Misfits.
Oh, okay.
One of the kids who gets superpowers from the sky.
Is that Kyle Kaminsky? Is that his name? I think that's his name, Kyle Kaminsky. Anyway, yes, Kyle Kaminsky, Grady Greenberg is the name of the character. So they're going to dinner. That's where we introduce our characters. We find out that he's kind of doing, Anthony's doing his paintings. They're kind of derivative at this point, kind of doing the same thing. You get a little interplay between the characters, a little introduction, stuff like that. And then we get a meeting between Anthony and Art, the guy who's going to do
something very important happens in that scene, right? The brother tells the story of, he's like, hey, you want to hear a scary story? And in the most realistic thing ever, she's like, no, the sister. So this is Brianna's brother. And Brianna's like, no, actually, I don't. And he's like, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. And I was like, yeah, that is a sibling relationship right there.
And this story starts because they're talking about gentrification, because they live where the Cabrini Green Towers used to be, but now they're like, gentrified high rises.
Yeah, there's a whole conversation. I do like it said his name was Grady.
Yes.
Grady is like, oh, you mean like this building? And then it's like, oh, but yeah, exactly. And so he tells the story of the first Candyman movie, but it's told not totally different, but very different. And at first I was like, what the fuck's going on here? And then I was like, oh, this
I
is
also
just how
second
it
guessed
evolves.
it. I was like, am I remembering the first movie wrong? I don't think that was Helen. But yes, stories change over time through word of mouth.
Because it would have been like 20 years ago now, more than 20 years ago. And so in this story, in his version, Helen is like a mass murderer. And then she kills the Rottweiler. She takes the unnamed baby, and brings it to the fire, and then throws it in the fire, or tries to throw it in the fire. But
The audience, not the audience, but the mob stops her and rescues the baby, but she gets burned in the process.
She throws herself into the fire. And now if you say her name, she comes back, da-da-da-da.
And the choice to do all the flashbacks in the shadow puppet style was amazing.
Inspired.
Dude,
Incredible. Yeah.
That alone, and I'm so glad during the end credits you actually get the entire footage they use telling the story of all the Candymen throughout the history.
Yeah.
Like you get to see like the unedited shadow puppet, footage.
Mm-hmm.
So fucking beautiful. Like that was inspiring.
Yeah, a great choice. I
Yeah.
think that's one of the strong points of the film, to be honest with you.
Agreed.
And I'm curious if that was all done on computer, if they legitimately made shadow puppets.
I bet it was CG.
You think so? I think that's practical. I
Hmm.
mean, it's a movie about art. I guarantee you there's some artist out there who's made this their fucking living and they were like, yo, this is what we do, dog.
I'd prefer it to be real.
I guess we'll find out. Audience, if you know, let us know because GraveTalk bet. I think it's practical.
I think it's CG.
Break the tie, listeners. Side note, this is the guy in Misfits. Y'all were talking about his partner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was talking. So Grady is not the partner. I was talking about
Grady's
the partner.
the white guy.
Yeah, the white guy is in Dave.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was talking about Troy Cartwright in the movie. He's the one from British Misfits.
Yeah, we're talking about Grady. So,
I'll
okay.
probably cut all that out. I was just clearing that up.
All right.
Fair enough. Fair enough. So, they tell this story, and no one kind of believes them really. Like it's like, yeah, okay, whatever, ghost stories, bullshit. But then Anthony looks it up on his phone as they're going to bed, and he's like, holy shit, this is real. Like
They're really fixated on the fact that she killed a Rottweiler. He's like, oh, she really did kill a Rottweiler.
Well, I mean, I think that's impressive for a woman to behead a dog by herself. I mean, don't get me wrong, women can kick some ass, but Helen did not look like she was
Fighting a Rottweiler.
She wasn't MMA level or anything like that.
Virginia Madsen can apparently behead a dog.
Well,
According to this tale.
Yeah.
Adrenaline's a hell of a drug.
So the next scene is definitely a scene where it's definitely a scene. Yes, it's definitely a scene. The next scene is between the guy who owns the art gallery, the guy who works with his girlfriend, Brianna, and he's like, your work has become derivative. You know, you're not really doing anything that's like super interesting. Kind of just like ripping on this dude, really fueling this dude's insecurity of like, holy shit, have I lost it?
But also not the first time. His girlfriend's brother, when they were over, was just saying the same thing. Bro, my sister's still supporting you. You got to get out there and make something.
Pick up the brush.
Yeah, pick up the brush.
They say put down the wigs and pick up the brush.
The weights, because he's swole. That my man is swole.
Oh, I thought he said put down the wigs, and I was like, does he cross dress? Is there going to be like a fucking like a whole like cross dressing scene? I was like, this is interesting.
Don't ask where people get their inspiration, bro.
So yeah, we kind of set the expectation that he's kind of fallen out of it, but through this, he then kind of gets inspired. Like the story of Candyman can't get out of his head, so he goes walking around the old Cabrini Green to kind of like see some inspiration, to see if he can find something that would kind of inspire him.
Something that's put him on a collision course with destiny,
Hello.
as IMDb told us.
Now he
Rotten
meets
Tomatoes,
a gentleman in Cabrini Greens,
Burke,
who's suddenly real super friendly. Hey, what's up?
Burke was rad, dude. That guy, that actor was really good.
Is it
agree.
intentional that Burke was there? Did Candyman set this up somehow? Because knowing what happens later in the film, or is it just some serendipity for Burke? Really bad luck for poor Anthony, and then Burke takes advantage of it.
I think it's fate. I think it was just a chance meeting that works itself out, because
I
Burke
don't
almost
know.
seems surprised at seeing him there, and it isn't until like the shit don't go down until Burke kind of realizes like, oh snap, this is what it is.
This area of Cabrini Green almost seems like a ghost town
Yeah.
through most of the movie. So this feels like, I think I might be leaning towards John's theory that like maybe he was instructed he had to stay here until another vessel of some kind
Because in like
returns to the area.
in like 4 seconds, he's like, "What's up? You know about Candyman?"
That's how I start all my conversations.
Hi, Candyman here. Oh wait, here's my card.
Like, so that's
Billy Mays here with.
when this movie goes on streaming, I would like to watch it again now, kind of having seen it from beginning to end, because I feel like Burke was a pawn in a bigger thing.
The acting he pulls out at the last act of the film was, in my opinion, phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best acting in the movie.
Yeah, he is a tortured individual. He
Yeah.
was doing a great job of like, I'm barely keeping it together. Finally going to get this out of the way and get this all done. I was just like, man.
But see, I saw that as a moment of like he's like, this is the life we live, yada yada. Like, holy shit, this might be that kid. Holy fuck, I can set this right. Like I think a mistake, because we find out that Burke was the kid from the very beginning of the movie that saw Sherman get beat to death by the white cops in the laundry room.
Well, Burke has a very like the villain in Black Panther, where it's like, you know what, I kind of agree with you, dude, because like he wants Candyman to come back to kill
Balance
cops
the
and
scales,
fight
yeah.
gentrification and like, you know, revenge for all of these bad things that are happening to black people. And I was like, I get it, dude. Totally get it. Maybe this isn't the way to go about it, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, he says it's a need. I'm sorry, Mark, go ahead.
I was gonna say, wasn't there some talk in the movie where they were saying like the child will return? Like somebody was saying that this was destined to happen.
Yeah,
So
it's
I think-
Burke.
So I think he knew this was going to happen. I think it was like not so much when, but you have to be here for when it does happen.
Right. And his mom, when he goes and sees his mom, Anthony, she's like, yeah, we all made a pact to never talk about it, but somebody broke the pact. And then I think back and I was like, dude, Burke was not in on that pact, because my man did not, he had no
So he didn't
hesitation.
break the pact, though. He didn't break it.
No, I think he
just-
might have been.
Which I think is all fate. I think there always has to, because okay, so let's get a little further in the movie, because I actually think I can like break this down and fix your problem with it, because we'll kind of talk about loosely here. There's a moment in the movie where they say, like, Burke, when he gives his like badass monologue at the end, he's like, there's a stain, and even if you scrub it out, everything's changed. It's always permanently there. He's like, there always has to be a Candyman to stand up for these wrongs that have always existed with this like discrimination and this like, you know, like all the stuff you just said, John. Like the stain of this abuse and racism and everything like that has created a need for a Candyman. And when they killed Tony Todd's character, the Candyman,
Daniel Rosenthal.
yeah, I think he's kind of like, there's a void. Like the scales have to be balanced. So I don't think he knew this is like, I don't think he was the vessel to like be like, I'm gonna make this happen again. I think he saw an opportunity and be like, wait a minute, 2 and 2 equals 4. Holy shit, it all adds up. Let's do this.
I guess if I want to approach this as like an art critic or perhaps a film critic, maybe his character is supposed to show how circumstances can create individuals who perpetuate this ridiculous cycle of
Yes.
violence that continues in every ghetto because of this exact logic, right? That we need to be violent because they're violent to us. And then we just get more broken homes, more dead people, and the cycle continues over and over again for generations. Maybe that's his point, but also maybe I'm reading a lot into the movie.
I didn't get that messaging out of it. I definitely got the like, you know, like this needs to be here to kind of like balance what we have to put up with. There has to be some kind of like retribution balance to what we have to constantly put up with this violence and this hate. Like there has to be something on our side to balance this the fuck back out.
Which would be more believable if Candyman is primarily affecting the very people that that Burke is purporting, saying, I can't even get that word out, is protected by Candyman. Because the reason everyone in Cabrini Green is terrified of him is because he kills people in the ghetto. He doesn't specifically kill gentrifiers or
Good
white
point.
individuals.
Fair point.
Everyone in Cabrini Green is terrified of Candyman.
Everyone's a susceptible victim if you say Candyman 5 times in the mirror.
Right.
Yeah,
He's not like if you're black, Candyman's like, what's up? Gives you a high five and goes back in the window. He's gonna kill you too.
So Burke, that's man.
I think regardless of that, either if you want to say that he was influenced by Candyman or did it his own volition, I do not believe that Burke happened upon this man and was like, I got it, eureka! It's time to put the candy. I feel like he planned on being a part of whatever was coming down the pipe.
Yeah.
I don't think he happened upon it.
audience, write in, let us know. I think no, I'm just kidding. This whole thing's just going to be polls throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's definitely a take you can have from this. I didn't get that, but it's
what
possible.
was he even doing there? The whole place was condemned. You had to jump a fence to get in there. And the reason they even got together was because Anthony had to hide from a cop coming by because no one's supposed to be where Anthony is.
Good
Burke's
point.
coming down
Fair
carrying
point.
like 72 bags of groceries. Like,
Yeah.
His lunch pail, all of it is like, I'm on my way to work where I'm not supposed to be working.
so
Burke and Anthony go to the laundromat, and Burke just straight up is like, "Hey, how's it going? My name's Burke. By the way, Candyman." No.
Well,
Anthony is
there to
asking
learn
questions.
more.
Yeah, and so he asks, and then Burke just goes into it, giving this whole backstory. He doesn't really. He kind of negates the whole "it was Helen" thing, but he doesn't really go into details. But he just kind of is like, Candyman exists. Candyman is always been a force for this area.
Well, he goes into the backstory of the
multiple Candymen.
the Sherman. He only tells him about the one.
the first counter, but he does allude to there being more because he says
Yes.
Candyman at my time was this guy named Sherman, whatever, who just stood out front and he was handing out candy. And then the most classic of all urban legends, razor blades started showing up in the candy, and the Popo were like, "Oh, it's definitely the Sherman guy." Then Burke sees him in the hole.
Well, don't they say like some white kid got a piece of candy with
Yes.
a razor blade? And I was
Yeah.
like, how would a piece of candy
Cabrini
migrate
Green.
from Cabrini out to wherever
There
the
could be
suburbs
white kids
is?
in the ghetto too. I mean, it's not as common,
But the lethal intensity of the cops.
yeah.
Also, when they show how, and I understand kids are dumb, but the way the razor blade is rolled into the candy is it just sort of sits on top of the candy.
What's slid into the candy piece, the caramel piece, has a blade kind of buried into it.
So what you do, John, is this. I've done
Just
it many
open
times.
it in your mouth.
This section of the podcast will be edited out for our protection.
You take the candy and you take the sharp bit and you slice into the candy, remove razor blade, turn the razor blade around, and insert into your new slot.
That's not what
Or
it
it's
looked
a
like.
dual-sided razor blade. Guys,
Or-
they
Yeah.
make these.
It's not what it looked like when Anthony opened it in the elevator.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, okay.
Moving on from the razor blades.
So, razor blades are in the candy. It's getting to the white people. Cops are all up in arms. So they come to Cabrini Green in force. They're looking for this Sherman fella. Burke sees him coming out of the hole. He screams. Cops take like 70 years because they, for some reason, go upstairs first instead of downstairs. Cops rush in there. They kill Sherman.
Beat
they
him to
beat him to
death,
death. And then, lo and behold, a few weeks later, more razor blades and candy. Turns out Sherman was innocent.
Which sucks, but at the same time, bro with a hook don't live in the walls. Like,
Well, he was hiding because he knew he was wanted.
Yeah, there's posters of him everywhere.
oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Fair point. Fair point. Never mind. Never mind.
But bro with the hook, don't stand outside and just give candy to children. That's
Yeah,
weird.
you know, maybe stop your hobbies when you're
In
wanted,
fact,
man.
I'll in fact say, even if you don't have a hook, don't just give candy to strange children. It's just not the...
Strange children. Oh, so it's the children's fault for being strange, John.
No, they're strange as in unknown, unfamiliar children. You can give candy to your children. Don't give candy to other people's children.
In this story, Burke does also mention, but the original Candyman was a guy named, Robothal.
No, that comes later when he's like, tell me, what is Candyman? Who is Candyman? That's when he tells them there's been 5 Candymen or
Okay,
whatever.
that's right.
Yeah.
He does meet him up again. Okay. So,
Yeah. So this is all Anthony knows at this point, and he feels.
but he's hooked.
He's inspired. He's like, "This is it. This is my new angle. I'm gonna go home and create some new art," and he does. And it's some of his most violent work are very literal.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to go on an art rant myself. He asked his wife, what do you think of this? I thought it was pretty good art. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I get it. She's like, I don't know. It's very literal. And I was like, how is that an insult? Like,
Because that's a thing that you get a lot. You're like, oh, you're just drawing what you see. Oh, you're just drawing the message. It's kind of like what you're saying about this movie. Is it better to hammer the message home straight up or leave it to more like kind of loose, like, okay, it's there, but it's up to the audience member to kind of like process that and do that. This is a thing that happens a lot with art. It's just like, oh, you just draw what's there, or you're forcing your message. You're not letting the audience interact with the piece. You're telling them what and how they should feel.
isn't that the point of the artist, though?
It depends on your what you're trying to accomplish with your art.
I guess.
The way you can hook a message into a brain and make it meaningful
Neon signs.
is an art in itself.
Yeah.
Right? If you just say, don't be racist, and that is literally the piece that's hanging in the wall. Or you can create something that puts that into someone's mind itself. It becomes more impactful.
Okay.
But then we also get into what do you consider art, because I can look at a fucking still life and be like, that's fucking gorgeous art. I don't have to have, it doesn't have to have a meaning for me. It can just be.
Unless you're Thomas Kincaid, you can go get fucked.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
That dude can cry himself to sleep on his millions of dollars if he's not already dead. Anyway, so yeah, no, that's fair, but it's kind of an insult to him because his stuff before was very like thought provoking, and this to the girlfriend and even to the gallery owner feels less thought provoking, more just kind of like, here's what I'm trying to say, now go away, less letting the audience kind of like have their moment, come to terms with it, be challenged by it. Some people say art's not art unless it challenges people. It's all subjective. But anyway, let's not get into art talk. So yeah, she's not thrilled with it, but she has one of her artists drop out of a show that's going to happen. And so he gets in. So he's going to show his new Candyman art at this gallery exhibit. And we cut to that next scene, which is this big gallery exhibit with the girlfriend, what's he called? The gallery owner?
Yeah, the gallery owner.
His summer intern.
I was like, is that Billie Eilish? But
Eilish?
Eilish. I just call her Billie Eilish.
Was that her? I don't know.
No, it really was not her.
I wouldn't recognize her if she like tapped me on the shoulder and asked to borrow a cup of sugar.
No, she had a very similar hairstyle to Billie Eilish.
I guess she's a famous musician. I would not like Mark. I would not recognize her though.
I really liked the installation piece that.
Well, describe it for us.
So Anthony, God, you scared me fucked on with art now. So it's a mirror on the wall. And you look at it and you think, oh, it's just a mirror. And I thought that was what his was, because he's got a little paper that like describes, you give your little blurb about the piece and what it means.
Say my name.
Say my name. Say my name. Say my name.
I thought about that though every time it came up.
I was like, that song is going to get played some point in this movie. They didn't. Kudos to them for not going for the low-hanging fruit.
We respect the restraint.
But you walk up to the piece and you open it up like a medicine cabinet. You open the mirror up, and inside the wall, in a hole in the wall, is the pieces about Candyman and the brutality of it, the Sherman story.
Yeah.
Inside the wall in this weirdly like dimly lit little area, and then you close the mirror and you're looking at yourself again. And it even says on the thing, you say his name 5 times in the mirror.
Right. There's a handout that goes along with the piece. I was interested to know what exactly was said on top of the page. Right. It was a pretty long page, and at the end it says, "Say his name 5 times in the mirror."
Yeah.
This is one of those legends that you need to be educated on to really understand, right? Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just like, it's a mirror, open it up. Oh, that's kind of neat.
Which is what the gallery owner was saying. He was like, this is too, like why is he over there talking to this art critic about his piece? He's having to, like, explain it. The audience isn't able to interact with it because you have to, if you don't explain it, it loses all context and meaning, which you don't want your art to do. You want people to be able to interact with it and kind of get what you're going for without having to be like, oh, you're supposed to feel this. You're supposed to see this and understand this.
Is the movie critiquing itself?
Maybe. If so, it fails its own criticism because it tells you, feel this way about these topics.
Maybe. I don't know if it's that.
I would say one interesting like comparison to the original Candyman is like the original Candyman had some of these same themes, but also it just let how shitty the project is speak for itself. It just showed how these folks were living and how terrible it was. It didn't have to say like, isn't this bad? This is really bad, right? Like,
but we didn't get that because we didn't have the shitty projects to juxtapose the storyline in this. We had gentrified fucking condos, dude. So, I mean, without the storytelling, without these moments, you do lose that intensity of how shitty that was, and the horrible things that happened to those ethnicities and those minorities.
I hate to headcanon Jordan Peele because I know he was part of this, or Nia DaCostas, who's the first movie I've ever seen of theirs, and it's incredible. But like that could have been a great use of the Burt character, right? Look, I used to live right here where this tower was, and now I have to commute 45 minutes, 2 hours on the subway to come man my store, staff my store. Like, so thanks a lot for that, because where your luxury high-rise tower was where my affordable housing was before I got pushed, to the periphery of the city.
Yeah, he definitely could have like used that moment to do that. But
But I agree. I think it was a cool art piece. I don't know how someone was supposed to know to open it though.
That's what I thought too. I was like, I would have had no idea you were supposed to look behind it because in an art gallery, the
Don't
one
touch.
thing I don't do is fucking touch anything.
Nay, you
Because
do not touch the art
some of the
unless
prices
there's a
on
sign
those-
that says "touch me."
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God. I remember the first time I went to a show and someone walked up and was like, "Oh, I like the paint," and they rubbed their finger on a painting and it was still
Ooh.
like. It wasn't wet, but it definitely like smut. I was like, oh my God. I was freaking out. I was like, whoever that is just got so fucked.
I remember when they started letting you photograph the pictures, and I walked in and saw all these people with their phones out and cameras. Like, what the fuck is happening right now? You don't take pictures of the art.
Phones down. Phones down.
And then like someone was like, "Oh no, it's cool." I was like, "Oh, all right,
Okay.
weird."
Right on.
Yeah. So
Times they are a changing.
Thank you,
assu-
David Bowie.
Yeah.
That was Bob Dylan, you fuck.
Changes. Oh yeah. Okay.
Times are changing though.
Yeah.
Get it all.
All right. Okay. Anyway.
Times they are a changing. That's not changing.
You
Those
know
are
what?
two separate songs.
We could also could have been
Wow.
a Tupac reference. He had a great song called "Changes."
Wow.
Would have really fit in.
Audience. Mark just called me out. I got.
Do you see why I didn't get that?
No, yeah, that's fair. That's
okay.
fair.
All right.
So back to
Much
this,
like this movie, it's a fair criticism.
Yeah.
back to this art piece. Maybe it was on the sheet. I also hope on the sheet because I think what they were alluding to is that in the original Candyman, right, you could push through the what the fuck's that
Medicine
cabinet?
cabinet?
Medicine cabinet, the back of the other person's medicine cabinet, and go into their apartment. That was one of the ways they thought Candyman was getting around before they knew he was supernatural. So I was like, oh, medicine cabinet. They're going to talk about that, and they don't bring it up at all.
That's fine. That was unnecessary.
It was an illusion, so I respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you listen to this podcast. Now you can pretend like you got it.
That part of the story was lost to the sands of time, John.
The sheet definitely said something about the murders and stuff like that because there's a high school girl who's looking at this piece and walks away, and that comes back later in the movie. So she knows the tale and tells her friends in a high school bathroom. They say Candyman 5 times and get fucking slaughtered at school.
One of the best scenes in the movie, in my opinion.
Really good.
Totally fucking creepy looking.
Yeah. So let's describe that scene, right? So the girls are in there, 5 of them, and she gets them all lined up. It's like, you ever heard of the Candyman? And they're all standing in the mirror. They say it.
Bunch of white girls.
Yeah. I appreciate the naked ray gun shirt and the Bad Brains patch that show up in this scene.
Yes.
Chicago represent.
Punk rock, baby.
But anyways, yeah, they say it. And then I got the opinion that the next person to enter the bathroom was a girl that was picked on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, you got the impression. They
I
fucking
picked up on
hammer
that.
that shit home.
I picked up on that. I got you, movie.
Yeah, they're like hitting the door stall. This girl goes in there and she's just like kind of like trying to get away from them. Puts her headphones on, and they're like banging on the door and like have fun in there. Blah, blah. You know, they're like
Nothing's
typical.
too subtle for Mark, though.
Nothing gets by me.
The door is locked at this point because they've said Candyman 5 times in the
Right,
mirror.
and they can't exit. And then all of a sudden, one of them goes around back to the sink, and one of her friends is like, "Don't go over there," because she starts seeing bees come in through the window. She sees a silhouette of the Candyman in the mirror, and then they look under the stalls and just see blood dripping.
Yeah.
And then you actually don't see the Candyman do any of the killing in this room. It's all from the perspective of someone in the stall. Like there's a neat scene where like a makeup compact falls to the
Yeah.
ground, and you see the mirror of someone getting dragged away. And then it just great stuff.
The shots in this movie that utilize the mirror, the reverse imagery in mirrors to show you the action, to disconnect you from the actual moment of murder and death, almost as like not only are you a viewer watching this movie, you're also a viewer watching this horrific action, but you're disconnected in a way that you can't control it. You have no like agency in this moment. I thought that was really, really badass because every time you see the Candyman, like when he starts to see the Candyman, Anthony, he's tapping on the mirror and he's kind of like there's a wall between you and all the shit that's going down. And the way they film this, they do it in such a way that you always feel helpless whenever this is going down. You never have agency in these scenes, which I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but man, so unnerving to me because you want to run, you want to do something, and it's not just you can't see them, it's just that there's dick you can do, which I thought was really smart of the filmmakers.
You were at the behest of the Candyman once you invoke him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they're the
So candy time at that point.
I'm going to say a sentence here that you can put in earlier because we blew right past it. We didn't talk about him getting stung. And we're like well past that part now.
God, yeah, please
So
do.
besides meeting Burke while he's out exploring Cabrini Green, he also gets stung by a bee, which is the first appearance of a bee in the movie.
In any movie and film, honestly.
Yeah, and we've never seen a bee before.
What, pray tell, is a bee?
Good question. It's a very unaerodynamic insect that apparently, if I understand correctly, pollinates. I'm not familiar with what
They
that
got
means.
fuzzy butts.
But also, they sting you and you die. Oh, no, they die.
I was very scared for a moment.
Yeah, no, you might also die. Depends, but they definitely die.
Yeah, he gets stung on his hand, though.
Right, and that becomes a major point later in the film.
Yeah, because let's just kind of call that out. As the movie progresses, the bee sting is getting worse and worse and looks more infected, and the skin's starting to get like, honestly, burned.
It looked burned, yeah.
Which will come into play later, but yeah, good point.
Just tell what is the time code right there?
104:38.
Okay,
You want me to text you real quick and just say?
sure.
104:38. John bee sting.
Cool.
Boom.
So I know that happens later on in the movie, but I thought since we were right there talking about the girl who sees the installation piece, we
Yeah.
might as well get that kill out of the way.
Because it's one of the coolest kill scenes in the movie. Honestly,
Yeah,
the way
absolutely.
it plays out.
So next, we see an art critic come in, and like Garrett said, he's having to over-explain his piece, and you never want that when you're dealing with a critic because it never really works out in your favor.
Yeah, she is obviously unimpressed. She's like, I've seen better shit from my dog.
And she has a lot of like thinly veiled racism to her criticism about the piece that could apply to him.
Well, what does she say? She says that you artists are perpetuating this idea of continued gentrification. Like you find a problem and profit off of it.
I think that was a jab at the audience that's going to be like, oh, they just want to talk about black problems in this movie.
Yeah.
I think this was a character that was supposed to kind of point out like, you know, like this is the way you see it, but here's the reality of it. This is the way we hear. This is what you sound like when you say this. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be reading into that, but that's the way I thought
So you
that
think
character.
it's a criticisms to the idea of, well, all lives matter.
I think it was definitely a veiled criticism to like the audience who's like, oh, you just want to talk about fucking problems and black culture, and it's like, oh man, yeah. No, I took that as a very heavy like kind of jab at like, shut your fucking mouth. This is what you sound like to us.
Yeah, I mean, but I also get where she's like, yeah, we get it. Gentrification's bad. Do you have anything new to say? Is essentially what her criticism is.
That's why it was so veiled, though, because
Yeah.
it could go. You could take it either way, but it definitely, you know, man,
But I
it was
agree.
not. It was rough.
Yeah,
Like,
'cause-
if I had a piece being talked about like that, I'd be like, I'm gonna go cry in the bathroom now and say Candyman 5 times.
Yeah, then she's like, she said, well, the problem about gentrification is you people keep coming in and cause gentrification. And he's like, excuse me, what the fuck do you mean by you people? And I'm going to give you just a solid life pro tip. No matter your ethnicity or race, just don't use the phrase you people. It's just never going to come across without making you sound like an asshole.
What about EWE people?
Ew, people?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're like an introvert and you're just like fucking people, ew.
What if we're talking about podcast listeners? Because those people.
And she's like, artist. I was like, no, I didn't know that. That's not where anyone's
That's
head
what I'm
was.
saying.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of definitely was like that play of like, who are you talking about right now? Because this could go either way, lady.
Yeah.
But she did have one of the first good laughs in the movie where she's like, you artists, you want to dick around in your studio, not have jobs, so you cause gentrification. And I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So he takes it very poorly and proceeds to just really drink throughout the rest of the art exhibit. He gets some razzing from the owner, the gallery, on his way out.
Well, like a peer, I guess. I assume it's another artist.
Yeah,
right?
it's another artist at the show was basically like, oh, I really liked your found art that you basically like picked up from a swap meet and put in the wall to kind of point out, ha ha ha. And he's like, I painted that motherfucker. And I'm like, damn, like I would have handled that way worse. I would have been like,
So I get
fuck
it.
you, the shirt's coming off. Let's go, bro.
Yeah. But then the gallery owner razzes him a little bit too, and then he makes some joke about fucking someone
All the
younger.
interns,
All
yeah.
the interns.
Yeah, he's like, you don't have enough plan B for all your summer interns. Even better joke, the little girl, not little girl, I don't want to say little girl, but the intern, the younger intern who's standing is like, it's okay, I'm on the Nuva ring. I was like, damn, girl, no. The point is he's fucking everybody. She don't seem to care.
He goes, I know. That whole scene was perfect.
Take that, Star Wars.
So it's nighttime. They're closing up, and the intern and the gallery owner are starting to get a little frisky. She wants to get down right there in front of the installations, and they start making out a little bit, and then she decides it's time to say Candyman 5
Mark
times.
makes it sound like it's this kind of almost romantic moment. He basically is like, look, we get it. You like Joy Division. Are we going to fuck or what? And then she's like, don't talk to me like that. Yeah, we're going to fuck. It's just like, holy shit.
He wanted to leave, though. She's like, we're doing it right here.
That's true. He's like, let's go into the privacy of my home where it's not a weird, sweaty gallery installation. But like, I can understand. She's like, no, we're going to do it here. And he immediately caves. He's like, all right.
And like a real fucking idiot, she decides to say Candyman into the mirror while they're about to get down.
And they attached their belts together.
I didn't understand that part.
Yo, that's just fucking full on badass, you guys. That's just that. That's like level 1 kink shit right there.
But if they were, eventually they were going to need to take those pants off. So they were going to
When
have
the pants come down, you don't got anything keeping you. You want to be close anyway. She's maybe just make sure you can't get away.
I think what John's point is, it's going to be harder to take the pants off.
Yeah,
at
the
that
coordination required is astonishing, but more power to him.
Look, once you get tapped in, you're in.
Okay.
I'm not going to explain this to you, John.
No, please do.
Listen to my other podcast, okay?
I think I'm too old to get tapped in.
Yeah, exactly. I'm tapping out, actually.
That's another thing you could do. No. So yes, out of nowhere, in the mirror, there is a Candyman.
There is a Candyman. Now, I want to talk briefly in terms of horror.
About Candyman?
No. Oh, what are we doing? Oh.
Well, the Candyman can. If I can kill people.
Let's point out that at the very beginning, they do have someone breathily singing the Candyman can from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, they had to, right? At least slightly acknowledge that.
Definitely.
They had to rip off our episode image
Yes.
that we did for our Candyman episode where we fused Willy Wonka and the Candyman together.
Well,
I'm just saying,
We
GraveTalk
thought of it
podcast did that shit first.
Remember how I got 5 on it, worked really well when it was creepy? Let's do that same shit for the Candyman can. That's the conversation that they had. And they're like, fucking love it. Put it in there. This is why you get paid $1 million, Jordan. Keep it up.
I got 5 Werther's originals on it.
Oh, fucking love it.
So the candy. Wait, what did you want to talk about, Mark?
Right. What I wanted to mention.
Totally got distracted.
Candy will do that to you.
Every time.
Especially Werther's.
I
love me some Werther's original. Let's talk about them.
Such a bad rap, but I'll tell you what, you get me a fucking Werther's and I'm gonna light up. My eyes open up. I'm ready.
You know, John, I think we're just old at heart.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I've loved Werther's since I was a kid. I guess I'm an old soul.
They never mention that the kids eat them from the grandfather
Yeah.
that always hands the Werther's out.
The
Kids
reason-
like them too, okay?
Exactly. The reason grandfathers are handing them out is because they're fucking bangers. All right.
You're welcome, Werther's. Use that in your new commercial. They're fucking bangers, okay?
Audience, help me.
So, in terms of gore, blood, horror elements that maybe listeners want to know about, this one's surprisingly light on that stuff, kind of. What, or did I misinterpret?
No, I think this is the bloodiest kill in the whole movie.
Or at least in terms of showing, right?
Showing, yes. It's like maybe most of the kills do happen off screen, or like you see them in mirrors or reflections. So yeah, I think you're right.
Not to say there's not any amount of blood. We see blood on the floor.
Yeah.
We see smears and stuff. But this is like open throat, hook/wound.
And they
As she gurgles and the life escapes her face.
show it for like solid. They don't cut away. You just see this really well done wound.
And his response, is this real? Is this fucking real? Like, I mean, how else do you say it when someone's throat just rips open in front of you?
I could totally see why he did that.
Yeah.
They're making out, and in the process of that, you can't see the Candyman, only in the mirror. A lot of that going on. So if you have a problem with that, that's a big thing in this film.
I mean, you don't see, except for the very end, you don't see the Candyman outside of a
No,
reflection.
he's only in the reflection world.
I think it's great.
Yeah,
I think it's a great touch.
Agreed.
So her throat just magically rips open and starts pouring blood all over the gallery. And like Garrett said, is this real? Is this real? He falls to the ground with her body, and then he sees the Candyman in the mirror. So it's you have to be in the room when it's said 5 times. Is
That's
that
what's
the rule? I thought it was
confusing.
someone who had to say it.
Right. He didn't say it, so I don't know
You have to
why.
be present. You have to be present. Remember the first movie, The Friend? They did it, the friend dies because she was present when they did the Candyman thing, right? Am I remember that correctly?
Maybe you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because all the girls, well, they all say Candyman in the bathroom.
In unison.
Yeah, they
Right.
all say it in unison. But yeah, I mean, details that we could dig into, but we probably can just let go on this one.
I'll
But
give
I would
you that.
say if you're present at the Candyman moment, you getting Candyman.
But here,
Are we Candymaning as a verb now?
I've been
Definitely.
candied.
But here's the thing I can't let go is saying Candyman 5 times has a 100% success rate in getting you murdered. People would fucking notice that. It's not like 1 in 10, enough for it to be a myth. It is 100% of the time you do it, you are dead.
I do recall back to our other Candyman episode where we talked about how sometimes he didn't kill.
Right.
Said it, and he just kind of showed up and waved and
Like,
then went.
ooh, and then left. Like,
But this time, nuh-uh.
yeah.
You getting it.
Especially with like Twitter and Instagram and like just modern social media. If something killed you 100% of the time, people would know about this shit.
Well, that's the thing. But at the end of this movie, Candyman says, tell everybody about me. They've forgotten about me. Everyone, because the thing is in Cabrini Green in the first one, everyone knew about Candyman. That's why you didn't fuck around, dude. Because Candyman was a known entity. He was a known quantity, man. Like in this one, the whole thing is like they've forgotten about Candyman. They thought Helen did it for God's sakes.
But I think to John's point, he's saying that no one would have suspected Anthony or whatever.
Right.
Like, oh, they're saying Candyman and people are dying.
Like everywhere, across the
Magically.
country, across the whole world. Or does it only work in Chicago?
Ooh.
Do you have to be in Cabrini Green?
Is it location based?
Yeah.
GPS me, baby. Are you within Candyman's
Like, if
delivery?
I do it in Austin, am I safe?
So
I mean,
anyway, back to the story.
What if I bring some tile from Cabrini Green here? Anyway,
You
continue.
need an object.
Yeah.
What if you doing coke off a mirror and you say Candyman while you doing a toot, and then
Yeah, that's a great question.
candy for the Candyman, sweets for the sweets,
Ooh.
Pixie sticks
for the pixies. Ooh, stop. No. Anyway.
Nice.
So yeah. So they get killed flat out. Gory as shit. Great scene. Freaky as hell. This is our first real Candyman moment.
The gallery guy's trying to get out the door, and again, it's locked, and he gets hooked in his ankle.
Yeah.
Oof, and dragged. And the Candyman's invisible, like Mark said. So you just see this guy like getting dragged in the air by an invisible entity, which then made me wonder, is the Candyman a ghost?
Yes.
Okay, I think
And
so
no.
too.
And everything. Well, he's got to be killed before he becomes a Candyman. So yeah,
Right.
he's technically a ghost.
Okay.
He's a malevolent spirit.
So you
of
could
some
throw a
kind.
sheet over him and have a very classic.
Don't. Oh Jesus.
Anyway.
Anyway, so back at home,
I
the
like this.
Brianna and Aunt are like kind of like, what the hell, man? You totally embarrassed me. What? And he's like, look, I got to show you my. She sees his Candyman works at this point, and she's like, what the fuck, dude? And he's just like, this is what I'm working on. Okay. The next morning, she goes into the studio and sees the murders. And then it's on the news. And then we cut back to the house where Brianna, her brother, and Anthony are all sitting and watching the news. And he's like, they said my name. They said the name of my piece. And he's like excited about this. And they're both just like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude?
I think he's already starting to get under the influence of candy.
He's definitely,
Perhaps.
he's got that sugar rush starting.
Yeah.
All right, we
Okay.
didn't mention
shakes.
he does say Candyman earlier in the film. We kind of blew by it, but he does say it. So now he's like in the.
Right. With her Brianna or
We only
Brianna?
said it 4 times. They never finished it.
He does,
No, he only says it 4
He leans
times.
over, playfully says it the last
and
time.
then they get in a tickle match, and then they have sex.
Oh, I missed
assume.
I missed the 5th one.
Yeah, that's how come he's like got attached, and how Candyman found him.
Oh, well, we find out later he's attached because of other reasons too, but yes. Okay, fair enough, fair point. So anyway, yeah, he's kind of like stoked on the fact, he's like, hey, they said my name on the news. They said my art. Oh, cool, they're talking about my art piece. And everyone's like, the fuck are you talking about, dude? Like, people are dead.
And he's like, oh yeah, I mean it's horrible, obviously.
I love how he fumbles through that too. He's like, no, I meant like, this isn't good either. It's just like, holy shit.
He's taking a no press is bad press
yeah, look,
approach.
I was like, dude, I get it, man. If they had the GraveTalk podcast on there, I'd be like, turn on the news at 7. They're gonna talk about my podcast.
Someone killed them to John's getting killed first.
Yeah, John didn't die first this time.
So some other moments happen. He goes back and talks to Burke again after this goes down. This is where we find out about the multiple Candymans. Like, this is where we kind of find out that there's a history of Candymen throughout history. At this point, he's fugue stated. He's tunnel visioned. He's his hand is getting fucking worse. It's like creeping up his arm. It's like halfway up his forearm.
No, he goes and sees the critic first.
Is he the critic before Burke
Yeah,
again?
he sees the critic. He goes to the hospital. Then he goes to Burke and his mom, or
Let's
mom
clean
and
that
Burke.
up just a little bit. Yeah, he gets a phone call at the middle of a dinner that he shows up late for, and he's like, "I gotta go." Right?
No, so
Oh no!
He's
That's
painting.
later. That's
Yeah,
later.
so
Okay.
so it cuts to like the later, and he's painting his Candyman shit, and we see he gets a phone call. First, it's from his mom. He ignores
Who's
that.
been ducking like for a while now.
Yeah. And then he gets another phone call that we don't see, and he picks it up. And then he goes into his significant other, and he's like, "Look, I got to go out. I don't know when I'll be back." She's like, "We have a dinner. Don't be late. This guy's coming from
With some fancy art dudes from New York.
Yeah, he never comes to Chicago. So don't mess this up." And he's like, "I'm gonna be fine." And she's like, "No, don't fuck it up for me." And he doesn't say anything, and he just leaves.
And at this point, she's also gotten blowback. Well, she didn't know, but like she also had that incident at the gallery. So,
Right.
she's kind of thinking, is this dude a liability? The brother already automatically thinks he is because he thinks it's a deadbeat. But so it's kind of building up in her mind. But yeah, she's like, don't blow this for me. And that's when he goes and sees the art critic, who was a real piece of shit to him.
Big time. Now, I did like they filmed him walking through this hallway, and it was such a great, like,
It's like a
amazing
rounded
shot.
hallway, yeah.
And I thought, is he walking in a circle or what? But it was super cool. And then he goes and sees the art critic, who's now super into him because he's getting famous because these people were murdered in front of his piece.
Which just goes to show for some of these people, it's not about the art, it's about the story attached to it and what they can fucking sell.
Yep.
And he calls her out on that too.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you're suddenly interested? And then he's like, go to the bathroom, say Candyman 5 times. I fucking dare you. And I'm just like, whoa, dude, that's bold as shit, man.
And they use this opportunity to push back on the gentrification narrative that she pushes. She's like, you know what the ghetto is? It's fucking white people cutting off a community, creating a ghetto, and then being like, artists, come in here, and if you hang out here for 5 years, we'll give you a Whole Foods.
Yeah, when he says that was hilarious.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, dude. So she goes to the bathroom, and at this point, he starts fucking with this bee wound, which is like this big pulsating wound. And
It's like gone up to his elbow now. His whole arm is just looking mad fucked up.
peeling
Like,
up the scab.
Grossest part of the movie.
oh, so bad.
Don't peel away a gross boil.
At someone else's house, nonetheless.
Yeah. Like
So-
I'm so bored.
Yeah.
Let me just peel away.
Play on yourself on like a normal person. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, he peels at his skin, and he's like,
Play
ow,
with yourself like a normal person.
cell phone.
Oh, I thought you said play with yourself like a normal person. I was like, John, that's not normal, my man.
Go poop in a potted plant when no one's looking.
Come on, right? You don't pee, you got to find a pee corner, and
So he's fucked his hand up at this point, and he kind of like is gonna like walk towards the bathroom to see if she's okay. She's been gone for a while. I guess she did say Candyman 5 times because she gets killed like
In
later
a really
on.
interesting shot.
Yes, which we'll get
Loved
to in
it,
just a second.
yeah.
But like he's seeing Candyman. This is the first time where we get the implication that he is becoming Candyman because he sees Candyman's reflection in the mirror, and every movement he makes, Sherman Sherman is doing the same exact thing, and so like it's basically a mirror image of himself as Candyman, and he starts to like, holy shit, wait a minute, this might be a thing. And then, bam, homegirl comes out and is like, are you okay? What are you doing in my hallway? And he's like, I gotta go.
yeah.
Yeah, not
Just-
weird at all.
Don't mind me, just doing some dancing. It's experimental for my next piece.
So he runs out of there to go to that dinner that he wasn't supposed to miss. And then we kind of get a dolly shot pulling away from outside the condo, the art critic's condo. We can see it. It's illuminated. We see all these like apartments, these little condos illuminated. We get a dolly shot that's pulling away from the window. And as we're pulling away, we see her get lifted in the air. And Mark, what happens? I can't remember. Oh,
She gets stuck like a pig and smeared against the glass
Yeah.
pane and the blood streak, and then the body just drops.
But it's real small on the screen itself.
It's a super far wide shot, and I thought it was really interesting. I liked that kill. I was like, okay.
The one thing I did, and maybe I was just paying too much attention, but the CG there was not great.
It did look a little CG.
Yeah.
You're right. It didn't look as natural as it should have.
Someone floating in the air, getting smashed against the window and bleeding everywhere didn't look natural to you guys. I'm so sorry.
It was just, I mean,
No,
for
it
the
did- it
movie
did
had
look a
been
little
so
bit-
high quality up till then. I was like, this is like some made-for-TV shit. What happened here?
I noticed, but I let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't
But-
bother me, but yes, it was noticeable. So we cut to the dinner where the New York art gallery owner is like, you should come to New York, Brianna. You could have a thing. You could be a real person. You should meet the women's trustees board. And
They were so weird. I mean, this is just an art thing, I guess, that us civilians don't know about. But they're like, Chicago's so provincial. Like, dude, it's like the second biggest city in the country. What the fuck are you talking about?
this is how some of these motherfuckers talk.
Like, it's
no doubt.
so great to be out in the country of Chicago. It's so rural here. Like,
You know how New Yorkers are. If it's not New York, it ain't shit. So get at me, New York.
Have you guys ever been to Chicago?
Yeah, I love Chicago.
I went
Great
up into
city.
the Hamilton building or the
John
Hancock.
Adams, Hancock.
The Hancock,
Yeah.
thank you. I went up in the Hancock building. You can't see the end of the city.
No, it's huge.
And that's on the third tallest building in the city.
Did you go out where the
The little glass thing.
Yeah,
No,
that thing
no,
is
no,
so
no.
cool.
I don't like heights. I am not.
I would just poop right in the middle of that thing. I was kidding.
But no, yeah, it's a giant town. I love Chicago. Side note. Anyway,
Yeah.
back to the movie.
Never been to Chicago. Hey, if anyone wants to take me to Chicago, hit me up.
You got to try the pizza.
I'm going to the fucking museum where the dinosaurs are.
Yeah,
Oh, the Fields Museum.
Yes,
Great.
That's
love that.
That's what I do when I go to a city. When I went to Philly for business, it was all like, you got a day off. I'm gonna go look at dead dinosaurs. I gotta go.
There,
So,
it's like there's a lot of the famous stuff. Let's talk about Welcome to Chicago
welcome
Talk.
To, welcome to Shy Tilly Talk.
Are very close to one another. So you could also go to the aquarium when you go to Fields Museum, and if you're a Bears fan, their stadium is right there too.
That's a day in a Chicago.
There you go.
In a Chicago, in the Chicago.
The Chicago.
You know, Chicago, Nebraska.
Tune in next time for more vaguely remembered Chicago memories that might be inaccurate.
So she's like, all right, finally, you know, this is taking hold. And then out of nowhere, someone gets a call and is like, oh my God, did you know, they just found the art critic dead.
Anthony did show up to the dinner, but he was late.
He's acting
Yeah.
mad sus, and he's continuing to pick at his
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, he's poking at his thing. And like the lady sitting next to him was like, dude, be careful with that thing. And I'm like, yo, as someone who bites their nails to like bloody stumps, like, yo, there's certain places to maybe let it go.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I was just like, man, pre-pandemic life was so different. Now if someone showed up with like an open pussing wound, I'd be like, all right, you need to get
shut
the
this
fuck out
place
of here.
down.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
Which COVID is that? 32. Get out of here.
So yeah, they find out and he's like, I gotta go, and like barrels out of there, not fucking guilty sound looking at all.
No.
You know?
So then he goes home and he's like he's painting these like really incredible. I wish they had shown more of those, but they're like we don't know it yet, but they're portraits of all the different Candymen. And he's just been, and his significant other finally comes home and she's like, what the fuck was that about? He's like,
Well, she walks into the room and
Yeah.
she's looking at the paintings and he runs in and he's like, don't look at these. And like, this was the funniest part of the movie. He's trying to throw like a sheet over them, but he's just kind of throwing the sheet at them. And I'm like, bro, you got to go for the corners, man.
just give up now. You're just embarrassing yourself.
And then they have a whole thing. He's like, okay, I think I fucked up. I think I channeled Candyman. I think I might be Candyman. And she's like, Candyman's bullshit. It's not real. I'll show you. And she starts saying it in a mirror. He freaks and picks up the mirror and chunks it across the room. And then she, with the right response, this character had the best responses in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
He throws the mirror and he's like, don't say it. And he smashes on the mirror. She's like, all right, you stay the fuck right there. I'm leaving. Like, she's gone and goes and stays with her brother.
Well, in her mind, she's like, there's murders happening. I know Anthony was doing things. He saw these people. Like, you're acting strange.
Acting violent now.
Violently strange, yes.
Yeah, if this isn't a paranormal problem he's having, then he's just a straight up murderer, perhaps.
Yeah.
So she's acting correctly. Now, let's talk about her a little bit that I had a little bit of confusion on. They keep showing some backstory of her and her dad.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Her dad
She
was
has
also
in a nightmare earlier
Yeah.
in the movie.
her dad is also a troubled artist, and she watched him jump out of the window and was like, "Didn't you know Daddy could fly?" And
Yeah,
then
that's
he jumps
fucking
out
dark.
the fucking window. Were they setting him up to also be a Candyman?
No, I think it's just showing that she like has a negative like a association with art maybe or something, but yet she still became a curator.
That's
so
kind of strange, right? Like the thing that you would associate with such a bad memory that you would just go full force into and become an art dealer of whatever kind she is.
yeah.
Well, you know, people with trauma sometimes gravitate to those same traumas, you know.
You mean like Harry in Christmas Evil?
Yes.
Turned
Oh.
himself into Santa Claus?
Look, let's just say that, you know, like people spend a lot of time and effort trying to stop certain behaviors that they tend to fall into the same patterns of, okay? She just hasn't gotten that far, evidently. And her brother calls her out on that. He's like, it's not your job to handle like broken, traumatized artists.
I think ultimately I think ultimately that didn't really add much to the movie for me.
No.
It raised more questions than it answered for me.
Yes.
Because when you first see this, the momentary nightmare of this, what the dad is painting kind of looked like Candyman to me, but I couldn't really tell. I didn't look close enough, but
it was a payoff that didn't happen there. I thought we were going to say like, yeah, he was actually tormented by Candyman also in his dreams or something like that. Because the way that it's set up, how Anthony's actually attached to the tail in the first movie, I was like, are you in some way attached as well? But it's never answered.
It definitely seemed like a throwaway type of thing.
Yeah.
yeah. If there was more to it, maybe that's a deleted scene. If there was more to that,
Maybe.
we just didn't get enough of it, or at least I didn't pick up on enough of it to make it anything more than like she falls into these patterns. That's why she's willing to accept this kind of behavior from him. It was also ammunition for the brother to kind of be like, hey, get rid of them. You know, like, we're going to get rid of Dad's old paintings. Do you want any of them? And she's like, no. And he's like, do you want to sell them? She's like, I don't care. And he's like, hey, you know, like.
Yeah, Brianna then, after the scene with the mirrors, goes directly over to her brother's house, and they're like, I'll fuck him up, that guy or whatever.
God.
You know?
When the gay couple is like flexing so hard, like, if he comes in here, I'm going to stomp him. I was like, bro, you can lift like 20 pounds.
Yeah, he's fucking built like a Mack truck, that dude.
Yeah, Anthony would win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the bravado of him like trying to protect his sister and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And nominating his like tiny little like boyfriend
Yeah.
to also help. He's like, Gavin's gonna like take him down too, and Gavin's like, yeah, I'll do that. Anyway, here's a J. Let's smoke.
Yeah. So the next day she goes back to the house looking for Anthony. He's nowhere to be found. And the brother comes in and is like, we are getting her stuff and leaving.
That was such it's a moment of like comedic levity.
Yeah. But now she's set off like, I got to find him. I can figure out what's going on with Anthony.
Yeah. So right after the boyfriend scene, Anthony wakes up, like, I guess he passed out after she left, and he has glass going right through his hand.
And his hand looks like a burned garbage stump. It is fucked up beyond all repair.
Oh, he does remove his nail.
Yeah.
He pulls one of his
Gross.
fingernails off because it's like his hand's all pussy and burned
So
and
bad.
busted.
I may have to take back the no gore thing. I forgot about that scene. That
And
was
so
bad.
finally he's like, all right, I gotta go to the hospital. So he goes to the hospital, and
the Cabrini Hospital, whatever the name of it, Memorial something.
right, and the doctor comes in and he's like, oh, welcome back, you were born here. And he's like, no, I wasn't, I was born in Brownwood. And she's like, nope, I'm looking right here, you were born here.
You were
Anyway,
born in this, yeah.
it's a great thing that you're here because we got to admit you because you are fucked up. And he's like, deuces. And then we see him like power walking out of the hospital.
Have you seen the cost of Medicare this day? No, I'm out, girl.
And he goes to his mom, and then finally, right? His mom's been trying to get in touch with him. It sounds like for years, effectively.
I don't think years. I think it's just been like a couple months.
But been trying, and he's been avoiding her. But finally, he goes and sees her, and she's like, hey, what's up, son? And he's like, why didn't you tell me I was born in Cabrini Hills? That seems like important, or Cabrini Green.
She dodges that question. Like, she's like, well, anyway, you want some tea? And I was like, mm-hmm.
And then we find out the big twist. This Anthony is the same Anthony from the first movie who was in the bonfire, who was saved by Helen.
He was the child that was going to be was quote unquote, I'm air quoting on the podcast, that was going to be sacrificed, that got saved. And then this is where we find out that the story that the brother and everyone else kind of knows was flawed. She's like, oh no, Helen wasn't the one that would try to kill you. It was fucking Candyman. Because that thing where she goes, shh, don't say his name. That moment was so impactful because he's like, who's Candyman? And then, yeah,
Not
the way
here.
she responds chills down my spine. I was like, good God, when someone acts like that, you don't want to know anymore. But she tells them, like, oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. Your thing is more important.
She tells the story of like, no, Helen wasn't the one. It was Candyman. She saved you, dude. She ran into the fire, brought
Gave
you
back to
out,
me.
and like died in the process. And we thought she killed Candyman, and we thought that was it. That's what she's like, we all made a pact then and there to never speak his name again. Someone broke that pact. And obviously it sounds like it may have been Burke.
Yeah,
to
Burke.
some degree. Burke. But yeah, and he's like, he's pissed. Like, he's not like angry at her. He's just like, what the fuck? And he's like, I gotta go. And then I think she puts together like, you were supposed to be, he wanted you. He chose you. You
Yeah.
had a special purpose. we thought we saved you. And he's like, do I look saved? Do I look okay?
He's such a dick to his mom, but it's like
no. I'm sorry. I'm gonna defend
she
him
was
on
two.
this
He was
one.
2 years old. Why would she? Maybe later on. Okay, fine. But like, why? He didn't tell him to go investigate Cabrini Greens and to say Candyman 5 times in a fucking mirror. He did that all on his own volition.
She should have moved out of state.
Fair enough, but if she's living in the projects, I don't think she had out-of-state moving money. She just moved from one projects to another projects.
Yeah, probably.
What you
You're
don't
right.
want to do is you don't want to basically like not know about the Nazis, find out about the Nazis, and then basically your parents be like, "Oh yeah, no, we were Nazis." You tell your kid, "Hey, by the way, Nazis were pretty fucked up. Just FYI, there's some history there. Heads up in case you ever have to dabble in Nazis." Don't dabble in Nazis, people. It's fucking stupid and terrible. Fuck Nazis.
Hindsight, you know.
Yeah,
But
I
you
understand.
cannot spring that kind of, I mean, granted, it's supernatural. It's a little different than like a historical thing we're talking about. But in the context of this movie, she should have mentioned, hey, don't go to Cabrini Green. Some shit went down there when you were a kid. You're 25 at this point or older. Just stay away. You know, like, boom, problem could have been solved. I mean, unless she thought that maybe by not telling him, he would never find it.
Right, because from the movie, it seems like this myth has essentially disappeared. If anything, it's Helen's story that's still around.
You know what? Great point. Great point. I take it back.
I'm slightly intrigued on how the gay brother found out and actually told Anthony at the beginning of the movie.
Well, he just heard it as an urban legend. Like, he just heard a
And it
story.
never actually disappeared.
I'm going
But
to tell
there
you
was-
how. Burke.
That's what I want to see. I
Well,
want to
no,
see Burke.
There was articles written about it, guys.
Yeah.
Remember? Because, like, there's scenes in this movie where Anthony is, like, looking up historical articles and stuff in papers. It's all whitewashed, if you will.
Yeah, the Helen
So-
part's, I think, still around. It's the Candyman part that
Yes.
had gotten
Because
cut.
they blame Helen for all this stuff. So he
Actually,
knew
you're
that.
right. There was no mention of Candyman at the beginning.
No,
Until
Helen-
Burke says it.
Helen, in the brothers version, Helen essentially plays the role of Candyman.
Yeah.
And when Anthony goes and talks to Burke for the first time, he's like, so tell me about Helen, you know, when she killed the kids. And he's like, nope, that was Candyman. And you're like, what? So, yeah, it was Burke. Burke fucked up.
Burke, man.
You
he's-
blew it, Burke.
One job. How hard is it to not do something?
I think Burke did exactly what he meant to.
I think he did too. So after
You're convincing me. You're convincing me.
So Anthony storms out from his mom and he goes to see Burke and he's like, dude, I need to know the legit story of Candyman. Tell me what's up. And he's like, look, Candyman isn't just a person, it's the whole hive, right? And there's been all of these stories. We see there's been like 4 or 5 of them. Sherman was the last one, but Daniel, right? Robothal was the first one, and they retell the story about how he was a photographer. He was a painter, and he was
Yeah, we get his origin story.
If you-
Tony Todd's origin story.
Right. So I'm not going to go through all that, but we get his origin story, and
All told through the shadow puppet cutout stuff.
so well done.
Robotal.
Robotal.
The Tussin.
And so Anthony's like, damn. And then we cut to
Well, let me interject real quick. We won't harp too long on it, but this is where Burke says Candyman is a force that has to be present. Like, Candyman has always been, like, he's important to, like, our history and shit like that. He doesn't go too much more into it at that point. He leaves it. We find out more later, but he basically says, like, there's pretty much always been a Candyman as long as this racial fucking nightmare bullshit's been going on.
right.
Because he's that line. He's like, they want what we make, but they don't want us. They love what we make, but they don't love us. And that was a big messaging point in the movie too. But the way he says it was really impactful. And it's kind of like, oh, Candyman's this like counterbalance to this fucked up shit. So, and then we cut to
This is where what's the significant other's name? I can't remember. Brenda?
Brianna.
Brianna. So then we cut to Brianna. This is the scene where Brianna comes to get her stuff, and she sees that Anthony's not there, so she tries to find Anthony. And she's looking down this list, and then she's like, oh, I know where to go. And so she finally goes to meet Burke at the laundromat. So she goes into the laundromat, and she goes into Burke's office. He's not there.
She looks down a stairway into a basement and goes, nope, closes the door. And I was like, thank you, Brianna, for being the smartest person in this movie.
Sadly, it doesn't save her, though, because somehow, even though she didn't say Candyman, she gets kidnapped by Candyman.
No, that's Burke. Burke grabs her.
But
'Cause he
Candyman
says-
closes the door and locks it because we see that and it's invisible. There's no hand that locks that door. and she couldn't unlock it.
I thought that was Burke because the next scene we cut to is the scene, the big massive climax, and Burke says, "Now we have a witness."
I think it has to be Candyman because the door closes and locks itself. So I think it's a combination.
Okay, I guess I don't remember the door locking
Don't
itself.
forget, she was present for the 5 Candymans at the beginning
Oh,
of the
that's
movie.
right. Yo, she's part of this.
Nailed it.
You can't get out of this.
Mark swooped in with the save. So
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Mark.
woo!
Yeah.
I'm swooping.
They cuts to black, fades back in, and now she is like strapped to a pew in a church.
The old abandoned church in the Cabrini Green courtyards.
And we see her and Burke's there, and he's like mastermind this whole thing. And Anthony's now got like his full-on Candyman look going on. He's just spaced out, staring at the wall.
Well, almost.
He's still got his hand.
He's sitting on the stage, staring at Black Jesus on the wall, like Blair Witch style, just like facing the wall, while Burke is exposition dumping this whole thing. He's like, there's got to be a Candyman. He's going to come back. He's going to set things right. This is what I got to do. I witnessed this. I stopped Candyman from being Candy. You know, like he basically like has this whole mental breakdown plot line that he's like, well, this is what's got to happen now.
I do like he says, I was baptized in this church, but I guess I'm on some other shit now.
Yeah,
And I
that was a
laughed at
great
that
line.
line.
That was a fantastic line. This part though, and so like Brianna's watching this, going like, "Holy shit, he's gonna try to make this dude Candyman." Turns Anthony around, says, "Give me your arm."
And he
Anthony
does.
puts his arm out. He takes a hacksaw and saws right through that. Anthony doesn't wince once. I was like, "Yo, that's some cold
But he
shit
starts
right
crying.
there."
He does start.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He sheds a tear, but that dude is fuging
Oh,
hard.
big time hard.
Yeah.
And also, like at this point, the whole the left side of his body now
Yeah.
is totally burnt
He
up.
looks like the old burned Candyman, but it looks even cooler. Like they've really
Yeah.
upped, just like in Halloween 2018, they really upped the visual effect of like how he looks and how gritty it looks and stuff like that. His eyes kind of glossed over a little bit, like the original Candyman. Yeah, it's really fucking cool. So yeah, he cuts his arm off. He's like, some things he's like, it's interpretive of who it is, but some things have to stay the same. He pulls out the hook and shoves it in the armhole and then uses a belt to like tie it in place.
And the movie shows it all. This is the time when the movie
Yeah.
shows all the gore.
It's
That's
intense.
That's the one I jumped back in my seat on. I was like, nope, I don't need to see a fucking hook pole shoved in someone's arm. Ugh, God, it was rough. So, and then he puts the jacket on, which to this point, I guess Burke had kept the Candyman jacket all this time. So maybe Burke was trying to set this shit up.
Where did he get the hook? Where did he get the jacket? The box with the hook had pictures of Helen in it.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, real quick cut, but I saw her face too.
So, I mean, this
Okay.
dude, he's a Candyman aficionado.
Okay.
He probably running like CandymanLives.com type shit.
He's a Candyman historian.
My house is a museum to the Candyman. Come over. I do tours at 2 and 4.
We'll leave the hive on for you.
So Brianna gets free with a pen.
Yeah, she has a pen from the laundromat, and she uses it to kind of like pick the bonds behind her hand. Once she sees Anthony become Candyman, he says, "I've called the cops. The cops are going to come in here, kill Anthony in a blaze of glory, which will then make him the Candyman. So everything's back to the way it's supposed to be. Bada bing, bada boom. Nice meeting you."
Win for everybody.
Yeah, she's like, "Fuck this noise. I'm out of here." She gets out of her restraints and starts hauling ass, I guess, through tunnels that go underneath.
Under the church, all the lights were out, so she was using her cell phone. I was like, this is a great shot. It's not backlit like all those other movies on a studio lot. It's actually dark.
That shit terrified me. That's one of my biggest fears, is being like in like underground tunnels with no light. Fuck that. Or even like a small light that I have control over, because it can't be around me 360 constantly. Ugh, that got me messed up.
The Conjuring 3 could have used some tunnel cinematography from this movie.
Definitely. But she finds her way out through the storm shutters on the side of the house and then gets caught.
And yells, "Annie M, Annie M." No,
She goes like she hides in the building right next to the storm shutters. I get it, but also like you couldn't have maybe gone 2 or 3 doors down. Whatever. So Burke's right behind her, and then she tries to hit Burke with like this heavy piece of piping, but she turns out she can't lift it.
she picks it up to like swing it at him, and then it just falls backwards. Like she's like, "Oh, I overestimated this one."
So plan B is to stab him to fucking death with the pen, and she goes ham.
She goes hard with that pen, and she kills Burke.
Look, potential victims. I'm talking to you right now. What she does in this scene is what you need to do when you're squaring off against a madman. None of this like, ooh, one swipe and run away. You finish the job.
A candy madman, if you will.
Yeah.
And Brianna finishes the job. She stabs Burke with that pen like 87 times.
In the neck. Like the first one's in the neck, and he goes down. And then she's like, well, let's just go ahead and confirm this kill.
Yeah.
And then Anthony comes in as Candyman. He was like, I don't remember exactly what he says, but he says on a degree like, I think I fucked up or something like that.
No,
Like
he says, I think you killed him. Or I
Yeah,
think he's dead.
that's
One
it.
of those type lines. And she looks over and she's like, wants to stab him as he's coming closer and closer. But finally she like puts the pen down and he collapses.
Yeah, okay. I couldn't remember how they ended up on the ground, but he collapses and
She had gotten hold of what looked like a box cutter, and he walked straight up to the blade and put his neck to it, and then just loss of blood, whatever trauma that he's going through, he just collapses at her feet.
Yep.
yeah. And she's got him in her arms, and then the cops come barreling and like freeze, pow, 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 waste no time. And I was like, well, how the fuck are you going to rectify this story situation? Because I was like,
Oh, you'll find
that
out.
seems, I mean, granted, I know that was definitely like a, like you say freeze and then you shoot with no chance to freeze. I mean, there was a lot of like, stuff going on there, which I appreciated them touching on. But I was like, and then she looks like she's been shot, and then she feels her chest, and she's like, they didn't shoot me. They shot Anthony, who was laying on the ground in the prone position. And I'm like, well, this is all sorts of wrong now. How is this going to be handled? Cops take her out to the car, put her in the car,
But
treating her very
before that part,
hostilely.
I do want to just talk about beautifully shot. You don't ever see the cop. You see the shadow of the
Yeah.
cop on the wall, illuminated by the lights from the siren.
And the pose was very reminiscent of the fucking shadow puppets that were attacking
Mm-hmm.
the other black characters in the shadow puppet backstories. So that was
Gorgeous.
very well done. The flashing blue,
Mm-hmm.
the blue and white against the wall and stuff, like illuminating this. So they shot Anthony on the ground dressed as Candyman. They put her in the back of the car, and then like this lieutenant guy gets in, and he's all like, okay, here's the situation. Our guy came in, like he was rushed by the guy who we've all been looking for because he's been killing all these people. So that's what you're going to say. Or you're going to tell us that he didn't do it and you're his accomplice and you've been helping him and you're going to spend your life in jail.
Yeah, I get this.
This part is heavy-handed.
Yeah, one very heavy-handed, but I don't mind all that part so much. But like, Anthony has a million alibis. He wasn't there when a bunch of these things happened, and he couldn't have been there. So
But he's dead now, so how's he going to say anything?
fair,
Also, the night of the gallery murders, he was at home with Brianna.
right? How did he get to that school? I think during that time he was also painting. Like, I
The
think
way the cop delivers his like ultimatum to her sounds like he's just reading from a script and sounds less organic. Like, oh, we've got a plan to kind of make sure that we killed this guy who was doing
No,
these murders.
it's definitely like one of ours fucked up, and we got to play the playbook to mitigate damage to us.
I don't even think it was one of ours fucked up. I think this was like they're just kind of like, oh, that's the guy we're looking for. Fucking kill him. He's a waste of time. He's killing people. He's done to us. I think it's that whole God complex that the bad apple police officers have, and ACAB. But you can edit that out if you want. But I mean, like I think they like this is our guy because don't forget Burt called and said, I'm here with Anthony, the Candyman. He's the one that's been killing people. I need help. That's what he told the cops before he started this whole like moment. So
he doesn't say his name. He says, "I saw the guy you're looking for. He's,
okay, I'm
he's
sorry.
got a
I
hook
thought
hand. He's wearing. I mean, he basically describes him to
He's
the
described
T.
as Candyman,
But he
yeah.
doesn't come out and say he's like, I saw him running around Cabrini Green.
yeah, he doesn't say Candyman, but like, yeah, he basically says this is the guy you're looking for. So they come in. I think they were ready to just like, let's solve this problem in the way that a lot of cops think that they should. And then they're like, okay, this is how we're going to justify it. We're going to get her to basically back this story or, guess what? You go to jail. You're right. It was very heavy-handed the way it was presented, but the way she responds to it, and it was really fucked up though, because it was like, holy fuck, man, that's how fast and quick your life could be over, or something could be justified like that. Something as fucked up as murder, like just because someone has a little bit of power. Like I don't know, that hit me hard. Like that was definitely a part I struggled with. But she's like,
And
you know
I'm sure
what?
it happens more than we like to admit.
I've
no
probably said
doubt.
this on the podcast before, but I've like never ever in my whole life been in a situation where calling the police has made anything better. It has made things worse a lot of the times. It has never in any way helped anything.
I saw a dating profile one time that said, "Fuck the police. I've called the cops on the cops. I've called the cops once, and it was on the cops." And I was like, "That's all the dating profile said." And I was like, "Okay, you've summed up everything I need to know right there."
They're not here to help folks like us.
They've lost their way. But anyway, that's a different subject for a different podcast.
Yes, she figures out how to get out of this situation, though.
Yes, she does. She's a smart cookie.
She's like, let me look in the rearview mirror to see myself, and I'll say whatever you want. And the cop's like, all right.
I do like he said no. She's
Yeah,
like, let
which
me
is-
see myself. He's like, no. And she's like, I'll tell you what. I'll say whatever you want me to say if I can just see myself. And he's like, fair.
So she says Candyman 5 times as the cop goes, what is the Candyman? What are you saying? And then Anthony Candyman shows up.
Does she say it 5 times?
Yes, she does.
Okay, I thought
I
she
counted
said
on my
it
hand.
4, and
She
he
was
said it the 5th time. But okay, she got all 5 in.
She did.
Okay,
Yeah, she did.
So Anthony Candyman shows up and gets all the cops.
Yep, he takes all those cops down, slashing, and this is violent. Like this is gory violent. Slashing throats, stabbing motherfuckers, ripping them stem to stern. The cars automatically supernaturally lock. So the guy who's like, "What the fuck?" You know, like the guy who was trying to like blackmail her, can't get out of the car. So he's watching all his buddies get killed. Then the car unlocks. That dude runs out, like looking, like trying to get away. The car unlocks. He appears in front of Brianna, and he's like, "Tell everybody, tell them my name." Like,
that's the very, very end.
oh, is it the very end?
That's like the last scene. So what he does, he lets the cop run, and he opens Brianna's door.
Anthony Candyman, who's covered in
Anthony,
bees at this
right.
point. Yeah,
And so then she's still handcuffed, but she leaves the car. She's looking around, seeing all the dead cops. She's walking, and she hears the other cop scream. And he had made it not very far. He's like on the
like just
side
around
of
the
the
corner.
building.
Yeah,
Yeah, and so she looks as now like Candyman, but he's really more like Bee Man at this point because he's all bees. Kills him. Then he turns to Brianna. The bees start going away, and we see that it's Tony Todd. And then he says, tell them, and that's the end.
A de-aged Tony Todd to look
Yeah.
like the original movie.
which goes to the whole like it's a hive mind. They're all built on top of each other to continue this legacy, like one and the same, if you will. You know,
The visual of the floating Candyman covered in bees was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime he was just floating around with his hands stretched out and just the bees everywhere, I was like, oh, that's fucking cool as
it
shit.
blurs his entire head. It's just this swarm, and it's so
Super cool.
unnerving.
Yeah. That's the way the movie ends.
I bet they used CGBs this time, though. They were not putting.
There was way too many bees in this situation for that scene to have real bees.
There's not enough bees in the world to use bees
Aw,
like this.
sad.
Respect the bees.
That's true. They're only there to pollinate.
This one goes out to all my bee boys and bee girls.
Okay. I want to know.
That sounded like you were just like, "Fuck you, Garrett."
No, that's probably where I'll put the cut of the music. So how do you make a Candyman exactly? Let's say Mark over here in Austin, Texas wants to build his own Candyman. And he wants to build a John Candyman.
You can build them better.
He wants
stronger.
to make an Uncle Buck with a drill hand, John Candyman.
Wouldn't he have a hatchet? If we're talking about Uncle Buck, because in that scene he has
Remember he had the
hatchet.
drill?
Yeah, but he actually was like, "I'm gonna go to my trunk and get my hatchet, and when I come back, I'm gonna scalp you."
Okay, how about drill one hand, hatchet on the other hand? We'll modify him just a little bit. So how do I make a John Candyman?
I don't understand the question.
If there's multiple Candymen and they can be created,
Oh.
how do I go about it?
Well, I think I have to die in a very unjust way that
Okay.
has a high emotional quota on my part.
A lot of the paranormal aspects of this or the spiritual aspects of this aren't clear.
Yeah,
It's still as vague as it was in movie 1.
which is fine.
I
You
feel
just
like-
do. You just get a Candyman.
You just get one?
You just get one.
Okay.
You got to find the golden ticket, and then you get a Candyman.
You eat enough
It's the
Candyman
lowest hanging
bars.
fruit ever, and you guys just like glossed right over
I
it.
missed it. I did not get a golden ticket. I was not on a golden sunshine.
Yeah.
However
That's-
that song goes.
Candyman 2021. Definitely a recommend from me.
Same.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, check it out when the theaters are safe to do so. If you're in an area that is better vaccinated and it's safer to go to theaters, go check it out. I highly recommend it. As soon as it's out on VOD, rent it, buy it, whatever you want. It's definitely worth a watch. I feel like it definitely captured that whole Halloween 2018 feel.
Now, I have not watched the sequels to Candyman in some time. Did we agree that those are now negated, or are those still canon?
Well, it's a good question, Mark. I don't remember 3 at all, to be honest. Couldn't even begin to tell you what happens in 3. But the story they lay out in 2 is the same story
Yes.
that they. Well, but don't they
A magic
retcon the
mirror or
story
something
in
have to do with
2?
Sort of. Some of it is kind of like tweaked a little bit. I would say that they pay homage to 2, but 2 is kind of lost to the ages at this point. Let's just say that it's not important to the overall like arc that we have now created with this new Candyman.
I seem to recall something about a magic mirror.
Yeah, I can't remember now. It's been a long time,
Yeah.
too. I don't think it outright is like, oh, yeah, everything in 2 and 3 are bullshit. But I think, like Garrett said, it's just irrelevant. They're like side quests.
Ah,
Yeah. Look, if Halloween Kills is bringing back the Halloween 3 masks, all right, anything's possible nowadays.
good point. Well, listeners, why don't you go check out the Candyman and let us know what you think about it on our social media. You can find us at Instagram, Facebook, or thegravetalk.com. We also got Twitter, too. Don't mean to shy away from Twitter. We're there as well.
We love our Twitter followers.
Well, what are we up to next time, Garrett? The next movie we're going to do is Evil Ed. If
A
I'm not
listener
mistaken.
request, yes.
That's right.
A listener request from someplace not in Austin. I can't remember where, but
It might have been overseas.
I think so. But yeah, listener request, Evil Ed. We'll be checking that one out and talking about it.
All right. We'll get it watched and check back next time. Thanks for sticking with us, and we'll see you then.